Chapter 55. Xia Dong felt a strong pulling force from the vines. Her legs were hooked onto the tree. Her palms, which had been pulled when she was picking the vines, were burning with pain. She clenched her teeth and held on. She couldn't let go. Once she did, all her efforts would be wasted. Her hands, which were tightly holding onto the vines, were already covered in scars. Red strangle marks crisscrossed on her palms. Her skin was already broken and bleeding. Crash. Gravel fell from the loose opening of the cave. The area near the tree was about to collapse. Her chest had been pulled to the opening of the cave. She could see that Bailey Han had already climbed to a position 1 meter away from the opening of the cave. Her beautiful face was twisted in pain. The wounds on her hands had already ruptured and blood was flowing out. Some of the blood even flowed along the vines and fell onto Bailey Han's face. His eyes darkened. He grabbed the vines with one hand and a piece of soil on the wall with the other, trying to reduce the pulling force on the vines. Finally, he kicked hard and threw himself to the opening of the cave. Xia Dong pulled on his arms. The two of them pulled together and finally returned to a safe place. "Your feet, your hands," the two of them spoke at the same time, but then froze at the same time. They spoke again at the same time. "I'm fine." There was an awkward silence. After a few seconds, Bailey Han said lightly, "Let's go to the cave first." He reached out to take his backpack, but Xia Dong grabbed it first. "Let me." Bailey Han's gaze fell on her bloody hands. He silently reached out his hand. Xia Dong couldn't persuade him and handed the backpack to him. The two of them supported each other and walked into the cave. The cave was about 10 square meters in size. It was very dry and the ground was covered with soft withered leaves. Bailey Han vigilantly scanned the cave. Only when he didn't discover any dangerous creatures did he put the backpack on the ground. Fortunately, the backpack was waterproof. The things inside didn't get wet at all. Bailey Han took out the gauze and ointment. He reached out to her. "Give me your hand." "Oh." She reached out her hand to Gigai. He put her hand on his knee and applied the ointment on a cotton swab. He carefully wiped her wound. His eyes were downcast and his expression couldn't be seen. "Does it hurt?" Xia Dong suddenly felt that this scene was somewhat familiar. 5 years ago, when she was injured in Bali, he had also applied medicine for her. In a moment of absent-mindedness, he asked again, "Does the wound hurt?" She came back to her senses. "It hurts. Why didn't you listen to me? Why didn't you wait until the rain stopped and go back to the yacht to get the rope?" His gaze was so terrifying, as if he wanted to skin her alive. She retracted her hand and whispered, "I'm afraid you'll be in danger in the cave. Besides, it's raining so heavily. It's not good for your health to be drenched in the rain." Bailey Han was unable to restrain his anger. An extremely cold storm was completely unleashed as he angrily rebuked a certain someone who had her head lowered. "Where are you going to find vines in such a heavy rain?" Damn it, why was he so worried about her? Bailey Han couldn't understand why he was so angry. At the same time, he was disgusted. He suddenly stuffed the cotton swab into her hand and said with a dark face, "Wipe it yourself." Xia Dong thought he was angry because she didn't listen to him. She carefully looked at him while wiping her wound. "Don't be angry. I'm fine now. You're fine too." "Heh. Heh." She couldn't smile anymore because he glared at her fiercely. Her hand paused, and she sucked in a breath. Ugh, she had poked his wound. "You're so stupid. You're so clumsy when applying ointment." Bailey Han couldn't stand it anymore. He snatched the cotton swab from her hand. After applying the ointment, he used gauze to bandage her hands. "Don't touch water. Don't use too much strength." He was like a doctor, giving detailed instructions. She could only nod. Finally, she volunteered to look at his left leg. "Is your leg hurt badly? Let me bandage it for you." "I'm fine." He moved his left leg to avoid her touch. Be obedient and don't move. She slapped his thigh. I'm a doctor now. Listen to me. She carefully lifted up his trousers. There was only a piece of cloth roughly tied around his leg. The white cloth was dyed red, and blood was slowly seeping out of it. She stared at his wound in a daze. An uncomfortable feeling kept surging up her throat. Finally, it turned into anger. Are you an idiot? You're injured so badly and you still say you're fine. Her hysterical roar echoed in the cave for a long time. Xiaodong didn't know why she was so angry. She stared at the man in front of her as if she wanted to find an answer. She didn't expect to see his lips slowly curl into a smile. Oh, God. She was going crazy. You're still in the mood to smile? You must be crazy. You're lucky you didn't fall and become disabled. She rolled her eyes and bandaged his wound again. Fortunately, he was fully prepared. There was water and food in his backpack, but the food was frozen and needed to be heated. Bailey Han gathered all the leaves in the cave into a pile. He found a lighter and lit it. The cave immediately warmed up. She was too nervous to notice it earlier. Now that she was relaxed, Xiaodong felt very cold with her wet clothes wrapped around her body. She sat by the fire and began to dry her clothes. Bailey Han put the food on a wooden stick to heat it up. Bailey Han, I'm really admiring you more and more. You're good in the hall, good in the kitchen, and good in martial arts. Most importantly, you have wilderness survival skills. You're simply a must-have for traveling. Xiaodong ate the hot food and flattered him. Bailey Han's eyes flashed with an imperceptible smile. His expression was still cold. If you had been thrown on a deserted island for a month to survive, you would have done these things too. Xiaodong looked at him in disbelief. Can you tell me about these things? He didn't answer. She hurriedly said, if you can't tell me, then forget it. He looked at the fire and said calmly, actually, there's nothing much to say. These are the rules of the Bailey family. After the eldest son comes of age, he has to pass many tests before he can inherit the family's power. He hid many secrets that she didn't know about. Only now did she understand that the wealth and status he had now was not because he was blessed by the heavens, but because he worked hard for it. She suddenly thought of a question and blurted out, then will your son have to go through these tests in the future? He suddenly stared at her, his eyes becoming dangerous and cold. I don't care what purpose you have for approaching me. If you threaten my son, I will make you disappear from this world completely. The atmosphere that had just eased between the two of them stiffened again. She smiled helplessly. I didn't mean that. On the contrary, I'm very happy that you care so much about your son. He looked at her suspiciously. She calmly met his gaze, her clear eyes without any impurities. Perhaps he was thinking too much. The cold aura around him gradually disappeared. He looked outside the cave and saw that the rain was still pouring. It seems that we will have to spend the night here. At night, Xiaodong began to have a fever again. Her whole body was burning hot, and the wound that was bitten by the venomous snake began to swell and fester. Bailey Han frowned. He covered her with the coat that had been dried by the fire. He dipped the cloth in rainwater and placed it on her forehead to cool her down. He took care of her for the entire night until the wee hours of the morning, when he finally fell asleep. The two of them who were sleeping did not know that a dark shadow had sneaked out from a hidden corner of the yacht and came to the deserted island. He followed the traces and found the cave. Seeing the two injured people in the cave, a trace of worry flashed across the intruder's eyes. He sneaked back to the yacht using the original route. Xia Xiaobao, who was still on vacation at the hot spring hotel, was woken up by a phone call early in the morning. He heard Jiang Dao's voice. Young Master Bao, Miss and Bailey Han are both injured. What? Xia Xiaobao jumped out of bed, completely awake. How did they get injured? Are their injuries serious? Mrs. Ankle is injured, and she seems to have caught a cold. Bailey Han's left leg is injured. Both of their wounds have been bandaged, but I can't tell if it's serious. Xia Xiaobao jumped up and down on the bed impatiently. I announced the termination of the plan. Restore the cell phone signal on the island. Yes, young Master Bao. Early in the morning, rays of sunlight peeked out. In Bailey's old residence, the butler called Bailey Han's cell phone over and over again. Suddenly, he shouted excitedly, "Young Master's cell phone has been connected. Quick, quick, Ahu, track the signal and find out where they are." Old Madam said excitedly. Understood. Old Madam, there's news from the Dragon Gang. They've found the yacht's location. Ahu reported loudly, "Old Madam, young Master's cell phone signal has been tracked. It's on a deserted island 400 nautical miles from the shallow sea." Very good. Inform Bao that the helicopter can take off now. Old Madam gripped her walking stick nervously and said solemnly, "Ahu, go with the helicopter. You must bring young Master back safely." After the heavy rain, the earth was fresh and clean. The rising sun brought with it a hint of warmth and shone into the cave. Bailey Han was awakened by the glaring sunlight. He closed his eyes and opened them again. Only then did he see the scene in the cave clearly. The fire had been extinguished, leaving behind a pile of ashes. There was no one else in the cave except for him. That woman had disappeared. Damn it, where did she go? Was she in danger? The thought flashed through his mind as he dragged his injured leg out of the cave. After the rain, the soil in the forest was soft. With yesterday's lesson, he was even more cautious. He hurriedly but steadily walked on the path in the forest. Walking along the gentle slope out of the forest, he saw a vast beach. The SOS that she had sprayed with red paint had long been washed away by the rain. The yacht that had been docked on the shore was also gone. He was even more anxious. Ignoring the injury on his leg, he ran towards the beach. Viroom. Viroom. Above him, a helicopter flew over quickly and stopped in the empty space in front of him. "Young Master, are you okay?" Ahu and Bao alighted from the helicopter and ran towards them. "I'm fine," Bailey Han said calmly. His gaze swept across the sea where the yacht had been docked and he walked towards the helicopter. "Ahu, take a few people and search this deserted island. The rest of you, return." The helicopter rose slowly, leaving a white trail in the air. Bailey Han returned to the old mansion safely. Old Madam led the entire family to wait at the main door. Seeing his figure, Bailey was the first to pounce on him. However, the moment he touched him, he stopped and froze in front of him. "Daddy." Bailey Han took the initiative to carry him. "Daddy is fine." Awesome novel, Shinwoo 799. Chapter 56. With her son in her arms, she walked unsteadily to the old lady. "Grandma, I'm sorry for making you worry." The old lady's eyes were red. "Why is your left leg injured? Is it serious?" "It's just a scratch." "It's nothing serious." "Grandma, don't worry." "Ahan, put Xiao Yi down. Be careful of your leg. The doctor is waiting in the living room. Let him take a look at your injury." Bai Jinxiu also came over. Su Yunxian was standing next to her. Her eyes were slightly red. Although she didn't say anything, they could feel her worry. "Mom, Yunxian, I'm sorry for making you worry." The old lady said, Okay. You must be tired after coming back. Go in and take a look at your injury first. We can talk later." Suja checked Bailey Han's injury. The abrasions on his calf were quite serious. Fortunately, his muscles and bones were not injured. There were several scratches on his body, but they were not very serious. After rebandaging his wound, Bailey Han comforted his family. Finally, he followed Su Yunxian back to his room upstairs. As soon as they entered the room, Su Yunxian threw herself into Bailey Han's arms with tears in her eyes. "Han, fortunately you're okay." Otherwise, I wouldn't have the face to live. Don't be silly. I'm back in one piece. He gently wiped the tears on her cheeks. If I hadn't gone to the yacht, you wouldn't have come and so many things wouldn't have happened. She bit her lip, her face full of guilt. It's not your fault. I was too careless. He kissed her forehead gently and pulled her into his arms. What happened after you went missing? She bit her lip and looked like she wanted to say something. Were you with Xiaodong? Yinxian, I'm tired. I don't want to talk about this now. He played down this matter. Okay, then have a good rest. I'll come to see you tomorrow. She stood on her tiptoes and kissed him on the lips. When she turned around and left, her eyes were cold. Why didn't he talk about it? Was it because he had done something wrong to her? He was the only one left in the room. He sat at the head of the bed and contacted Ahu. At this time, they had already finished searching the island and were bringing people back to the old Bailey mansion. Ahu, what did you find? Young master, the deserted island has been washed away by a storm. There are no traces of human activity. Your mobile phone was found in the shallows 10 meters away from the beach. Is there anyone else on the island? No. All right, I got it. Lying in the bathtub, Bailey Han frowned. That woman had mysteriously disappeared. Did the person behind her take her away, or did she encounter some danger? At this time, Xia Dong was already lying on her bed. The nanny took good care of her, who had a cold, and even found a doctor to treat her wound from the snake bite. She didn't know how long she slept, but she opened her heavy eyes and looked around in a daze. Her eyes finally lit up. She was home. However, something didn't seem right. The door was suddenly pushed open and a small head popped out. Then, it was a scream of surprise. Brother, mommy is awake. There was a crackling sound. Then, a small body rushed in like a cannonball. Mom, are you okay? Oh, after the shock, it was anger. Xia Dong propped herself up with one hand and grabbed the ear of the little person lying in front of her bed with the other hand. Xia Xiaobao, I'm telling you, you're in big trouble. Mom, you don't have to shout so loudly. I can hear you. Xia Xiaobao dug his ear with a bitter face. You're full of energy. It seems like you've recovered. Mommy, don't abuse brother. He's very pitiful. Xiao Guai blinked her big watery eyes and pleaded for her brother. Xiao Guai, you have no idea what kind of heinous things your brother has done. Xia Dong was full of grievances and had nowhere to vent. I was wrong. Xia Xiaobao took the initiative to admit his mistake. He blinked his big, watery eyes that resembled his sister's. Mommy, I was wrong. Please forgive me this time, Mommy. Xiao Guai, go back to your room first. Xia Dong's attitude was firm. She ignored her daughter's pleading eyes and asked the nanny to take her back to her room. Then, she would settle the score with her son. Xia Xiaobao, you're getting bolder, aren't you? You think you can play your mother in the palm of your hand just because you're smart? Do you know how dangerous it is on the deserted island? If it wasn't for Bailey Han, wait, why am I back? Where's Bailey Han? Xia Dong finally realized what was wrong. Well, Bailey Han, his people should have found the island by now. As long as he gave the order not to interfere with the island's mobile phone signal, it would be much easier to find them. Should. Are you kidding me? Do you know how dangerous it is there? How could you leave him alone there? She was about to explode. Mom, don't worry. He's definitely fine now. Xiao Bao rolled his eyes. Do you think Bailey's people are vegetarians? In the 2 days that you were missing, their people almost turned City A upside down. If it wasn't for Uncle Shen's people who helped me block them, they would have found you long ago. Also, Mom, if I bring him back, wouldn't it be obvious that I'm the one behind the disappearance? I'm not that stupid. His principle was to not leave any evidence behind. What he said made sense. Xia Dong thought of her purpose and gradually calmed down. We were lucky this time and didn't cause any irreversible consequences. You're not allowed to do such dangerous things in the future. I know, he blinked innocently. Mommy, since that's the case, can you not punish me? Of course not. She glared at him fiercely and flipped him over, pressing him on her knees. She pulled down his pants and slapped his buttocks with her palms. Xia Xiaobao cried out. Spanking was really the scariest corporal punishment that adults could use to intimidate children. Xia Xiaobao deeply felt that both his body and mind had been greatly damaged. After being spanked, he stuck his little buttocks out and hid under the blanket. Xia Dong gently coaxed him for a long time and wanted to apply medicine for him, but he refused. She had no choice but to ask the nanny to apply medicine for him. After applying the medicine, the nanny was distressed. Miss Xia, you're too harsh. Young master's buttocks are all red. Filled with regret and heartache, she specially made her son's favorite soup and brought it to his bedside. She touched the small ball curled up under the blanket and said softly, "Baby, Mommy shouldn't have hit you so hard. It's Mommy's fault. Mommy knows that you're smart, but if the Bailey's family finds out that it was us who set this trap, will they let us off so easily? Mommy just didn't want you to be in danger. You and Gigai are the most important people to Mommy. Mommy doesn't want you to be hurt. Maybe Mommy was wrong. Mommy shouldn't have involved you in this matter in the first place." The small ball in the blanket moved and his soft hands hugged her waist. She heard her son's muffled voice. "Mommy, I won't do this kind of thing again. You're Mommy's good baby. Mommy made your favorite soup. Come out and drink it while it's hot." She pulled him out from under the blanket and scooped a spoonful of soup for him with a smile. "Here, Mommy will feed you." "Okay." He smiled happily, his big eyes curved into beautiful crescents. The mother and son leaned against each other and the atmosphere in the room was warm. Xia Dong went missing for 2 days and returned to the company. Everyone was concerned about her and asked her if she was feeling better. She smiled and thanked everyone for their concern. Once again, she was amazed by her son's meticulousness. He had applied for sick leave from the company's human resources department 2 days ago. "Annie, you've chosen a good topic. Give me the manuscript on Friday. Ding Hao, send me the photos of the Paris fashion show after the meeting. Jennifer, have you finished the interview for the cover of this issue?" During the regular meeting, Xia Dong was making arrangements when her phone suddenly rang. She glanced at the caller ID and saw that it was an unfamiliar number. She hung up without hesitation and continued the meeting. After the meeting ended, she returned to the office and dialed the number. "Hello, I'm Xia Dong. Are you looking for me?" A man's magnetic voice came from the other end. "I'm Bailey Han." Xia Dong's mind went blank for a moment. She mumbled, "Oh, hello. What's the matter? What's the matter?" Her voice sounded very businesslike. Bailey Han, who was sitting in the office, had the urge to smash his phone. He must be crazy to call her to confirm her safety. There was no response from the other end for a long time. Xia Dong hesitated and asked, "Bailey Han, is the injury on your leg okay?" Bailey Han's anger miraculously dissipated. He said faintly, "What about you?" "Huh? Has your wound healed?" "Oh, it's fine now." The two of them were silent awkwardly. No one spoke, and neither of them hung up. Xia Dong coughed and decided to break the silence. "Can you keep what happened last time a secret for me?" His face darkened. "What do you mean?" "I think you know that we were stranded on the deserted island because of me, so I hope you can keep it a secret." She gripped the phone tightly and found it difficult to speak. "If you think it's difficult, then forget it. I'm ready to bear the consequences. Don't you want to explain what's going on?" "Sorry, there's someone I want to protect." "Very well." He hung up the phone after saying this. Xia Dong listened to the beeping sound from the phone and sighed helplessly. Before she could calm down, another call came in. "Hello, I'm Su Yunxian. I want to meet you." "Okay, time and place? 7:00 in the evening, Repulse Cafe. After work, Xia Dong walked quickly to her parking space. A red sports car suddenly turned from the other side and blocked her way. Bailey Yun got out of the car, took off his sunglasses and walked quickly to her. Bailey Yun, she had just opened her mouth when he suddenly pulled her into his arms. He rested his chin on the top of her head and said in a low voice, Xia Dong, where have you been these 2 days? She lied, I didn't go anywhere. I was sick and had been resting at home. Don't lie to me again. He lifted her head agitatedly, his deep eyes filled with anger and sadness. I went to your house and your aunt's house, but I couldn't find you anywhere. Do you know how worried I was? Do you know how scared I was? I was scared that you would leave without saying goodbye again. You heartless woman, why did you lie to me? Beauty novel, Xinwu 799. Chapter 57. She avoided his gaze guiltily. Bailey Yun, don't be like this. Let go of me first. Let's talk slowly. She saw that there were already people looking over curiously. His handsome face was as dark as the sky filled with dark clouds. He tried hard to convince himself to take it slow and not scare her away. He slowly let go of her and crossed his arms. He looked like he wasn't going to let her go if she didn't explain herself. Tell me now, where did you go? I just went out to play. It's that misty villa. I went there to soak in the hot springs with my family. She tried to divert his attention. I have an appointment with someone at 7:00, and it's almost too late now. Can we talk another day? His attention was indeed attracted by the second half of her sentence. He stared at her fiercely. Who are you meeting with? A man or a woman? A woman. Xia Dong rolled her eyes at him. Can you let me go now? Sure. He suddenly reached out and pulled her into his arms. A sly smile flashed across his slender fox-like eyes. But you have to put my stamp on it. He suddenly kissed her lips. Her eyes widened in shock. He covered her eyes with one hand and held her waist with the other. He pulled her closer to him and deepened the kiss. He sucked and licked her lips. Just as his tongue was about to touch her teeth, she unceremoniously stepped on his foot. Ouch! He painfully let go of her and looked at her slightly swollen lips smugly. You lunatic. She was so angry that she didn't know what to say. She glared at him fiercely and ran towards her BMW. Xia Dong had a headache. Bailey Yun had suddenly gone crazy and left bite marks on her lips. If she went in now, Su Yunxian would definitely notice something was wrong. She took out the lipstick that she rarely used and applied a little. It looked much better. Su Yunxian hadn't arrived yet. She sat by the window and ordered a glass of soda. After waiting for about 10 minutes, Su Yunxian still hadn't arrived. She picked up her phone and was about to call her when she suddenly saw a familiar figure walk in. It was Su Xingchen and a beautiful young girl. The two of them chatted and laughed as they walked up to the second floor. Xia Dong frowned and began to feel that she had chosen the wrong place. She dialed Su Yunxian's number. Hello, I'm Xia Dong. I'm here. How much longer do you need? I'm already outside the door. With that, she hung up the phone and pushed the door open. Su Yunxian was dressed in a long white dress, looking as elegant as a queen. She sat down gracefully opposite Xia Dong and smiled. You're very punctual. Thank you for the compliment, Xia Dong said indifferently. May I ask why Miss Su is looking for me? She still had a smile on her face. I know that you were the one who caused Han's disappearance. Xia Dong raised her eyebrows. I don't understand what Miss Su is talking about. Then let me remind you that you drugged our wine and sent the three of us home. You only took Han away. I think you've already achieved your ulterior motive, right? Miss Su has a rich imagination. It's a waste that you don't write novels. If Miss Sue asked me out today just to say this, then I'll take my leave. The perfect smile on Su Yunxian's exquisite face froze. She took out a check from her handbag and pushed it in front of Xia Dong. Fill in as much as you want. I only have one condition. Leave Han, leave a city and never come back. Thank you for your kindness, but I'm not short of money. Xia Dong didn't even look at the check. Miss Sue, in fact, you can have confidence in Mr. Bailey. He didn't betray you. Su Yunxian's eyes were filled with mockery. She looked down at her. I've never believed a man's words. I advise you not to either. Even if Han promised you something, you won't be recognized by the Bailey family. There's nothing between us. Xia Dong was very puzzled. How could this proud woman who was like a queen be so sure that she and Bailey Han were already in an ambiguous relationship? If you were innocent, then there wouldn't be that little bastard. Xia Dong's heart felt as if it had been hit by a hammer. She looked at her coldly. The child is innocent. Please don't insult him. Don't force the grudges between adults onto a child. Su Yunxian snorted. What? Is your heart aching because I'm scolding him? If so, why did you abandon him in the first place? Enough, don't say any more. Xia Dong's face turned pale. She clenched her fists tightly, her nails digging deep into her palms. She couldn't feel the pain because the pain in her heart had long suppressed the pain in her body. Su Yunxian was like Guanyin, with a benevolent smile. She looked at Xia Dong's suffering and whispered in her ear, if you want to take the child away, I can help you. What did you say? She widened her eyes in disbelief. I said, if you want to take that little bastard away, I can help you. Her gentle voice was like poison corroding her. Aren't you very motherly? Don't you want to take your child away? Don't you want to see your child being called a bastard by others? With every question she asked, Xia Dong's heart ached even more. Finally, she closed her eyes and tried to calm down. What benefits do you get by doing this? Of course, Su Yunxian wouldn't tell her that her child occupied the position of the eldest son of the Bailey family and was the only person who had the right to inherit the Bailey group. Only by getting rid of that bastard would her child have the right to inherit the group. Su Yunxian smiled. Of course there are benefits, and that is to keep you away from the Bailey family. How about it? Isn't this a good deal? It was very tempting, but so what if she took the child away? Would she be hunted down by the Bailey family for the rest of her life? Would the child really get the life he wanted with her? Moreover, there was still Xiao Guai waiting for her to save. I'm sorry, I can't make this deal with you. Su Yunxian's perfect smile finally disappeared and her exquisite face turned cold. 5 years ago, you took him away. 5 years later, I won't give you the chance again. Xia Dong didn't want to say more. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. Su Yunxian's sharp nails scratched the table as she watched the figure leave her sight. She left a few obvious marks on the table. After sitting for a while, she left. At the staircase on the second floor, Su Xingchen was looking at the spot where Su Yunxian and Xia Dong had been sitting. A charming female voice sounded. Xingchen, didn't you go to the bathroom? What are you doing here? Su Xingchen turned to look at the person and smiled weakly. Fei Yan, I felt a little uncomfortable just now, so I wanted to come out for some air. Bailey Fei Yan hurriedly said, Are you okay? Do you want to sit down and rest? No need, I want to go home first. Can you help me get my handbag upstairs? Okay, wait for me outside the door. I'll be right there. Su Xingchen walked out of the coffee shop and saw Su Yunxian's car coming out of the parking lot. She didn't want to be seen by her, so she hid behind the door and waited until the car was far away before she turned around. Su Xingchen whispered to herself, if I'm not wrong, sitting opposite Su Yunxian is Glamour magazine's chief editor, Xia Dong. Why are they sitting together? Could it be that this Xia Dong is the one from 5 years ago? Xingchen, I'm here. Let's go. Are you okay? Do you need to see a doctor? Bailey Fei Yen walked out with 2 handbags. I'm fine. I'll be fine after I go home and rest. Then let's part ways here. Bye-bye. She took the handbags and hugged Bailey Fei Yen. As Su Xingchen drove home, there was a thought in her mind. Was that woman really the Xia Dong from 5 years ago? She must find out. Su Yunxian came out of the coffee shop in a bad mood. That damn Xia Dong refused a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. She definitely won't let her off. Brother K, help me do something. She sent a picture of Xia Dong to a man called Brother K. He was the leader of a certain underworld gang she met in the nightclub. Pay attention to her whereabouts. Who she met, what she did, I want to know in detail. No problem, baby. How do you plan to repay me? The man on the other side of the video smiled wretchedly. You're annoying. Do whatever you want, okay? She threw him a coquettish glance, completely different from her usual elegant and noble self. Okay, I'll go to your place tonight. The man smiled even more sinisterly. Night fell. A night full of ambiguity had just begun. There were only 2 people left in the huge villa. In the dining room downstairs, a sumptuous spread of food was placed on the long dining table. Su Yunxian, wearing a low-cut, backless black evening gown, sat at one end of the table. On the other end sat a man in a suit. He had thick eyebrows and big eyes. Although he couldn't be considered a handsome man, he had a dignified appearance and a burly figure, which made him look very masculine. He was the leader of the Flame Gang, Old K, also known as Brother K. Brother K eagerly pushed the cut steak in front of Su Yunxian. Baby, this is fresh steak specially sent over from New Zealand. Try it and see if it's to your liking. Su Yunxian elegantly put a piece of steak into her mouth with a fork and smiled. It's not bad. Eat more if you like it. After all, we'll be doing something very tiring later. Brother K's eyes had a wretched glint as he scanned her exquisite body. Don't be in such a hurry. Her smile turned seductive as she elegantly took small bites of her food. Her delicate red lips were so mesmerizing. Brother K's heart was instantly set on fire. He looked at her with even more infatuation. Baby, you're so mesmerizing tonight. Really? Her eyes had a bone-chilling charm as her lips parted slightly. You're not joking with me, are you? Of course not. I'm just speaking the truth. I'm willing to die under you. He stared at her low-cut neckline with a smirk. That deep cleavage made him lick his lips uncontrollably. You're the one who said it. Don't beg for mercy later. She raised her brows seductively. Baby, I can't take it anymore. Let's start now, okay? The fire in his body was getting stronger. He grabbed her hand impatiently and reached under the dining table. He took her hand and touched the scalding hot spot. The thick and hard cylindrical object was stuffed into her palm, and the scorching heat was transmitted fiercely. A look of disgust flashed across her eyes, but a bashful expression appeared on her face. You're so naughty. Go take a shower first. I'll wait for you in the bedroom upstairs. Okay. Baby, wait for me. The man dragged out his voice and quickly ran to the bathroom. Welfare, Hongcha 866. Chapter 58. Su Yunxian wiped her hands with a wet towel, then slowly walked upstairs and into the changing room. When she walked out of the changing room, Brother K was already lying on the bed. From head to toe, there was only a small t-shirt on his thigh, 2 thin belts around his waist, and a small piece of elastic cloth wrapped around his front. It looked very heavy. It looked like it was about to burst out of the cloth. Oh, baby, you're finally out. The man looked at the woman walking over eagerly and obsessively, and he couldn't help but twist his lean back. Slap. A leather whip suddenly struck his firm chest, accompanied by a cold female voice. Don't call me baby, call me Your Majesty Queen. Yes, Your Majesty Queen. The man looked at the woman in front of him, and the infatuation in his eyes intensified. Su Yunxian was wearing an ultra-short black lace dress, black silk gloves, and black stockings that revealed a large portion of her snow-white thighs. She wore 10-centimeter-high leather boots and held a black leather whip in her right hand, standing in front of the bed like an arrogant queen. She arrogantly raised her chin and asked, "Who am I?" "You are my Majesty Queen." "And who are you?" "I'm your slave." She walked closer to him and raised his chin with her left hand. Her lips curled into a mocking smile. "My little slave, is this how you seduce your Majesty Queen?" She fiercely let go, and the leather whip in her hand hit him hard. "I'm very disappointed and very dissatisfied." The whip left a red mark on his body, and the man was stimulated by the pain. He twisted his body and said, "Your Majesty Queen, I'll definitely satisfy you." His burning gaze was locked on her cold and arrogant face, and his body was getting hotter and hotter. His waist seemed to be swaying, and he unconsciously moved forward. His fingers slowly lifted a belt around his waist, and slowly pulled it down. Then, he flirtatiously lifted another belt, and pulled it back and forth. "Be more lascivious." Another whip hit him. The man became even more passionate and flirtatious. His little cuckoo was pulled down to his groin, leaving only a little bit covering the important parts. A part of the Black Forest was exposed. The queen's lips curled into an evil smile. "Not only are you my slave, but you are also my dog. Try to bark like a dog. If you don't do well, I won't let you go to court, woof 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 woof." The man jumped up like a dog and crawled to her feet. He rubbed against her thighs and even stuck out his tongue and blinked at her. "Since you're so obedient, I'll give you a lesson." She hooked the whip around his neck and dragged him back to the bed like a dog. The man was sprawled on the bed. She raised the whip and whipped him fiercely, making cracking sounds. She stepped on his back with her sharp heels, slowly grinding it. "Ah. So good. So comfortable. Use more strength." The pain brought with it a strange feeling that washed over him like a tide. His vision turned white, and just as he was about to explode, a soft little hand grabbed his private part. "Ah. Your Majesty. Please. Hold me tight." The low and hoarse voice had a helpless moan. His entire body was tense, and his body was in peak condition. He was the woman holding the whip. Su Yunxian had an arrogant look on her face. She gripped the thing in her hands tightly and rubbed it skillfully. Her speed became faster and faster, and then there was a loud cry. Her hands were wet. The man panted heavily and rested for a while. Suddenly, he turned around and pressed her down. He kissed her earlobe flirtatiously. "Baby, it's my turn to serve you now. Then you'll have to do your best." She rubbed his hair with one hand and had a seductive smile on her face. Her body twisted nimbly, just like a beautiful snake. "As you wish, Your Majesty." The man kissed her neck greedily, following the curve down and finally stopping on the fragrant grass. "Ah. The two of them were like suffocating fish. They hugged each other tightly and entangled together, leaving a room full of lust. After a long time, Su Yunxian was lying in the man's arms. Her slender fingers drew circles on his chest. "Brother K, don't forget what I told you." The man kissed her red and swollen lips. "Don't worry. I'll take what my baby told me seriously. However, that woman is really beautiful." "What? You want to have sex with her?" Su Yunxian looked up at him and said disdainfully, "You men are really too much. You eat from the bowl but look at the pot." Each one of them was a cheap dog. "Baby, I'm just saying that casually. How can she compare to you?" The man pinched her butt. "Why are you monitoring her situation? Did she offend you?" She slapped his unruly hand away. "She wants to steal my man." "Your man? The CEO of Xinghao Group? Why are you still asking when you know?" She pushed him away and walked to the bathroom naked. "Don't let anyone know about this." The man whistled obscenely at her beautiful back. "Baby, If you walk out like this, no man will be able to tolerate you. She didn't answer. She slammed the bathroom door shut and looked at her naked body in the mirror. Her appearance did indeed arouse the desire of many men, but Bailey Han held it in. For 5 years, he hadn't touched her. This was her shame. She could only regain her dignity in front of other men. When she came out of the shower, Brother K was still lying on the bed. She frowned unhappily. Why haven't you left yet? The man pounced on her and wanted to hug her. Baby, don't be so heartless. I'll stay here tonight. No way. I never let a man stay at my house overnight. It's not like you don't know. Get lost. She kicked his butt. The fiercer she was, the more he liked it. He put on his clothes. Okay. I'll go. Baby, you're really heartless. Finally, she got rid of Brother K. She changed the bed sheets and quilt with great fanfare. She rolled the things she changed into a ball and threw them into the bin. Lying on the soft bed, she took out her phone and sent a text message to Bailey Han. Han, good night. Dream of me. She soon received a reply. Okay. Go to bed early. Good night. She turned over and threw the phone on the bedside table. She couldn't help but think of the scene of Bailey Han and Xia Dong being intimate on the deserted island. Although Bailey Han didn't talk about what happened on the deserted island, she always felt that something was slowly changing. And all of this was related to Xia Dong. If it weren't for her, she and Han would have been married long ago. That woman was simply her nemesis. Su Yunxian's beautiful fingers clutched the bed sheets tightly. Her eyes were filled with hatred. On the other hand, Bailey Han had just returned from the old mansion. He was called over by the old madam to ask about the situation on the deserted island. He only said that he was alone on the island and didn't mention anything about Xia Dong. The old madam couldn't get anything out of him, so she let him go. His son had been waiting for him in the living room. When he heard the sound of his car, he ran to the door and waited for him. Daddy, you're back. The little figure stood at the door. He wanted to come closer but didn't dare. Bailey Han's heart warmed. It turned out that it felt so good to have someone waiting for him at the door. He picked up his son. Why aren't you sleeping? I'm waiting for Daddy. His son lowered his head in embarrassment. Daddy will come back early in the future. Bailey Han hugged him tightly. It's getting late. Daddy will take you back to your room to rest. It was time for school to end at Imperial Kindergarten. There were many luxury cars parked outside the school. A Rolls-Royce was parked closest to the school gate. Bailey saw it as soon as he walked out of the school gate. The car door opened and a man in a finely tailored suit came out. His tall and straight figure and handsome face immediately attracted the attention of everyone. Bailey Yi's beautiful eyes lit up. He exclaimed in surprise, Daddy. Bailey Han bent down and patted his head. A faint smile appeared on his lips. Daddy is picking you up today. Get in the car. Bailey Yi smiled brightly, revealing 2 cute dimples. When the girls in the kindergarten saw him, they exclaimed in surprise that he was so cute and handsome. The infatuated Xia Xiao Guai also exclaimed, so handsome. She crossed her hands and rested her chin on them. Her eyes flashed with little red hearts. If it was any other time, if his smitten sister praised someone else's good looks in front of Xia Xiaobao, he would definitely express his disdain that the person was not as handsome as him. But now, all his attention was on Bailey Han. Bailey Han and Bailey Yi were father and son. They were father and son. That meant that he, Xiao Guai, and that annoying Bailey Yi were all siblings. Xia Xiaobao wished he could become a fire-breathing dragon and roast Bailey Han. How could he do this? He had just abandoned the 3 of them and had Bailey Yi with another woman. Oh, he was so angry. He wanted to bite someone. Xia Xiaobao pulled Xiao Guai away with a fierce face. Hey, brother, you're hurting me. Slow down. Brother, brother? Brother, why aren't you saying anything? Why is your face so dark? Did someone piss you off? Xia Xiaobao did not say a word. He pulled his sister far away and only stopped when he saw Xia Dong's BMW. Xiaobao, what's wrong with you? You look like someone owes you money. Xia Dong carried her precious daughter into the car and then poked Xiaobao's bun face. Xiaobao panted heavily, his little chest rising and falling, and his little face flushed red. After a long while, he finally blurted out a bunch of idioms in one breath. Humph, humph, a bastard scumbag who flirts with women and abandons his wife. Xia Dong was stunned. She poked his bun face again. Son, what's wrong with you? Nothing. Xiaobao rolled his eyes and turned his head away from her. Let's go home, Mom. I hate everyone with the surname Bailey. Did Bailey find trouble with you? Her son turned his head and glared. He dares. It's okay, it's okay. Let's go home. It seemed that her son was really angry. Xia Dong patted his head. Don't be angry. Mommy will bring you to eat good food. Yay brother, don't be angry. Gigai will tell you a joke. Yes, yes. The little princess is going to tell a joke. Let's applaud. Someone asked a penguin, what do you do every day? The penguin said, eat, sleep, and hit dowdo. That person asked many penguins, and the answers were the same. Eat, sleep, and hit dowdo. He asked the last penguin, what do you do every day? The penguin said, eat, sleep. That person asked curiously, why don't you hit dowdo? Awesome novel, Xinwu 799. Chapter 59. That's so funny. That penguin is Dowdu. Before she could finish the joke, Xiao Guai was laughing so hard that she was convulsing with laughter. Xia Dong laughed as well. Xiao Bao rolled her eyes. That's a lame joke, isn't it? But the corners of her mouth curled up. Then tell us one, brother. The car drove into the neighborhood. After parking the car, Xia Dong walked out of the parking lot with a child in each hand. Suddenly, she saw a black luxury car parked at the gate. A man in a black suit stood next to the car. When he saw her, he bowed politely. Miss Xia, our old madam wants to see you. May I ask who your old madam is? Xia Dong glanced at the car. The rear window was closed, so she couldn't see what was going on inside. But she had a feeling that the old madam was sitting inside. The man said respectfully, Old Madam Bailey. Xia Dong froze. The Bailey's family had finally come. She held the two children's hands tightly. She wanted to protect them and couldn't let the Bailey's family take them away from her. Please give me 10 minutes to bring my two little nephews upstairs. Okay, Miss Xia, please hurry. Xia Dong nodded and brought the two children upstairs without looking back. As soon as she entered the house, she locked the door and squatted in front of them. She looked at them seriously. Xiao Bao, Xiao Guai, don't call me mommy anymore. Call me aunt. If anyone asks, just say that you're Uncle Gao Feng's children. Do you understand? Gao Feng was Xia Dong's aunt's son. He had been working in the United States National Defense Research Institute. Because of the special nature of his work, the United States government had done a very good job of keeping his personal information confidential. Even Xia Dong, his family, did not know if he was married or where he lived overseas. Therefore, it would be very difficult for the Bailey family to investigate. Xiao Guai did not understand the sudden change. She pouted and said, Mommy, do I have to call you auntie in the future? You can call me mommy at home, but outside, especially when there are outsiders around, you must call me auntie. Xia Dong hugged her children and said guiltily, Darling, I'm sorry. Believe in mommy, everything will be fine in a few months. Once she was pregnant with Bailey Han's child, she would take the children away again. This time, she would go to Italy to stay by her godfather's side. No matter how powerful the Bailey family was, they would not dare to go against her godfather openly. "Mommy, I believe in you. You will definitely do it." Xiao Bao's soft lips kissed her on the cheek. Xiao Guai also kissed her on the cheek. Xia Dong also kissed them, then told the nanny to take good care of them, and then hurried downstairs. As expected, the old madam of Bailey was sitting in the back row. Seeing this smart and capable old madam again, Xia Dong was still very nervous, but she did not show it on her face at all. She smiled politely and greeted her. While she was sizing up the old madam was also secretly sizing her up. After 5 years, she had become more mature, beautiful, and charming. She exuded confidence and capability. It was no wonder that she attracted Ahan's attention again. The old madam went straight to the point. "I thought you would never come back." Xia Dong smiled and replied, "Life is unpredictable. I didn't expect it either." "Have you forgotten what you said back then?" The old madam's eyes became sharp. "Back then, I promised that I would go far away and never come back to disturb Bailey Han and the Bailey family. But now I regret it. My family is here, and I want to live with them." She was neither servile nor overbearing and maintained her smile. "Don't even think about bringing Xiao Yi back." "Even if I wanted to, I wouldn't do that," Xia Dong said indifferently as her nails dug into her flesh. "You don't have to worry about that. Tell me, what do I have to do to make you stay away from Ahan?" The old madam's face was full of contempt. "I'll give you another 5 million. Is that enough?" Rich people were really generous. First, it was Su Yunxian, and now it was the old madam of Bailey. If it was in the past, Xia Dong would have snorted at their behavior, but now she could face it with a smile. "Thank you for your generosity, but there's no need. I just want to live a peaceful life. As for Bailey Han, we're just working together. We won't go beyond that in the future." The old madam glanced at her coldly. "I hope you remember what you said today. If you break your promise again, then my attitude won't be so gentle." After getting out of the car, Xia Dong felt very tired. What should she do to convince Bailey Han to lend her a child? Xia Dong didn't know that her every move was being secretly recorded and photographed. After meeting with the old madam, Xia Dong still secretly paid attention to Bailey Han's movements, but it wasn't as obvious as before. Bailey Han didn't contact her again. The two of them were like strangers who didn't have any interactions. They were back to square one again. Half a month passed peacefully. Xia Dong began to feel anxious. If this situation continued, when would she be able to get pregnant and cure Xiao Guai? She picked up her phone and found the familiar number. She hesitated for a long time, but still didn't make up her mind to dial it. She brushed her hair dispiritedly. Suddenly, her eyes caught something and her eyes lit up. It was the new issue of the magazine. On the back page was the advertisement of Shenghao Group. She finally found an excuse. "Lilith, I'm going out. Call me if you need anything." Xia Dong took her handbag and ran out of the company. After choosing for a long time in the mall, she finally picked a gift. She put it together with the magazine, carefully wrapped it, and sent it to Bailey Han's office. When Bailey Han received the package, Su Yunxian happened to come to see him. She saw the box on his desk at a glance and said with a smile, "What a beautiful box. What's inside?" Bailey Han saw that the sender was Xia Dong and felt a little strange. "Open it and take a look." As he said this, Su Yunxian had already untied the bow on the box. When she saw what was inside the box, her hand froze. "What is it? Take it out and let me see." "It's a magazine and a pillow." Su Yunxian's face was cold with her back facing him. When she picked up the things and turned around, she was full of smiles again. "Miss Xia is really considerate. She sent you such a beautiful pillow." The pillow was cross-stitched. There were 2 cartoon dolls embroidered on it. The two of them were holding hands and looked very intimate. On the back of the pillow was a big English word, happy. Bailey Han just glanced at the pillow and didn't show any special expression. He picked up the magazine and looked at the advertisement on the back. This is the advertisement that our company published in Glamour magazine. The shooting is not bad. His voice was very calm. It sounded like he was explaining, but when it fell into Su Yunxian's ears, it was especially unpleasant. The advertising director was in charge of the advertisement. That be *tch, why did she send Han a sample magazine for no reason? It seemed like she hadn't given up yet. Su Yunxian pinched her palm with her fingernails and smiled slightly. Han, I'll leave first. I won't disturb your work. Okay, drive carefully. Bailey Han kissed her cheek and sent her to the door. After closing the office door, he put the pillow behind him. It was soft and quite comfortable. The corners of his lips curled up slightly. Su Yunxian walked into the empty elevator and dialed Brother K's number. In the elevator mirror, her delicate face was full of hatred. Brother K, how did you do the thing that I asked you to do last time? Good, I'll go to your place tonight. I want to see all the photos. There were dozens of photos scattered on the table. Each photo had the same protagonist, Xia Dong. There were photos of her driving, picking up a child at the entrance of a kindergarten, holding the child's hand and going upstairs. Su Yunxian pointed at a photo. Whose child is that in the photo? Brother K reached out and pulled her into his arms. I heard that it's her cousin's. The boy's name is Xia Xiaobao, and the girl's name is Xiao Guai. She has a cousin? Su Yunxian raised her eyebrows. If it's her cousin's child, why is her surname Xia? I heard that her cousin works in the United States. As for why the child's surname is Xia, isn't it simple? Her cousin followed her aunt's surname. What's her cousin's name? Xia Feng. Su Yunxian felt very surprised. Xia Dong's uncle was really strange. He actually allowed his son to follow his wife's surname. However, the surprise only lasted for a moment, and soon she focused her attention on Xia Dong. She picked up a photo, which was secretly taken when Xia Dong and the old madam of Bailey met. Who's the person in this car? I don't know. The person in the car hasn't come out. It's very mysterious. According to my people, she has a very regular life. She goes to work, gets off work, and picks up her nephew. During this time, she hasn't had any contact with Bailey Han. That's because your people are useless. Su Yunxian was furious at the mention of this matter. Her face showed a rare angry expression. Do you know what happened this afternoon? That bitch actually sent Han a pillow. Who does she think she is to him? What right does she have to interfere with Han's life? Don't be angry. Let's do something happy. The man impatiently hugged her and kissed her. Go away. I'm not in the mood today. Su Yunxian pushed him away in disgust. She tidied her clothes and returned to her dignified appearance. I want you to find a few people and teach her a good lesson. What do you want to do? The man leaned over and wanted to kiss her, but she pushed him away. Doesn't she like to seduce men? Then I'll let her seduce as much as she wants. Su Yunxian's eyes flashed with a vicious light like that of a poisonous snake. On the other side, in Xia Xiaobao's room, Xiaobao was holding a small laptop and video calling Jiang Dao. Young Master Bao, the group that followed Miss has retreated. Did you find out who they are? They're from the Flame Gang. Xiaobao typed Flame Gang into the database and a bunch of records about the Flame Gang popped up on the computer screen. He snorted and pursed his lips. Then, he snorted disdainfully. So their boss, Brother K, is a pervert who loves to be abused. That damned bastard. If you come looking for trouble with my mommy again, I'll make sure you die a horrible death. Jiang Dao couldn't help but shiver when he saw the little devil's smile. They had discovered the Flame Gang's men secretly following Miss Xia on the first day. However, they didn't take any action, deliberately allowing the other party to collect a bunch of wrong or unimportant information. Young Master Bao, although their men have retreated, I'm worried that they won't let it go. It's better to continue watching them. Welfare, Shinwoo 799. Chapter 60. Yes, you're right. Help me keep an eye on them. Don't let them do anything bad to Mommy. Also, find out why the Flame Gang is making trouble for us all of a sudden. Yes, young Master Bao. After ending the call, Jiang Dao hesitated for a moment before deciding to report the recent events to Mika Kido, who was far away in Japan. After all, it involved the conflict between the gangs. The next night, Su Yunxian came to Bailey Han's villa with a collector's edition Transformers model. She said that it was a gift for Bailey E. Bailey E calmly took the gift and thanked her politely. He even said considerately, "Daddy, I won't disturb you and Auntie Sue anymore. I'll go back to my room first." "Okay, sleep early." Bailey Han was very satisfied with the change in his son. When they were alone, Su Yunxian leaned into his arms and said gently, "Han, I'm so happy. Xiao Yi seems to be trying to accept me. Xiao Yi is a sensible child. He actually understands that you're good to him. He just didn't know how to express it in the past." Bailey Han was actually talking about himself. When he tried to communicate with his son, his feelings for him grew deeper and deeper. He felt proud of being a father from time to time. "Han, can I stay here tonight?" Su Yunxian's slender fingers wandered around his chest and she said coquettishly, "I haven't been alone with you in a long time." "Whatever you say." He hugged her and his voice was gentle and doting. "Then, can you go take a shower now?" She blinked and her voice was as soft as water. "Okay." He stroked her hair and walked towards the bathroom. The sound of running water came from the bathroom. Su Yunxian took out his phone from his pocket and quickly sent a text to Xia Dong before deleting the message history. When Bailey Han walked out of the bathroom, Su Yunxian had already changed into sexy pajamas. She had 2 glasses of red wine in her hands, and there was a faint smile on her pink cheeks as she approached him. He had a towel wrapped around his lower body, and his upper body was naked. He walked over slowly with his slender legs, and the water droplets on his body slowly slid down his perfect curves until they slid down his lower abdomen into that mysterious area. It was the most perfect body she had ever seen, bar none. She suddenly felt a little hot and couldn't help but lick her dry lips. She leaned against his chest, her red lips slightly pursed as she took a small sip of red wine. Then, she kissed his chest, the cold liquid and hot tip of her tongue sliding across his body. Then, her lips sucked on his dogwood, her tongue deftly sliding over the tip. With a light scrape, his body froze. Bailey Han looked at the woman in front of him. Her usual elegance had long faded from her face, and her beautiful eyes were already as seductive as silk. Her delicate and smooth skin shone with a dazzling luster under the soft light. He didn't know why, but another pair of eyes appeared in his mind, and she whispered like a lover, "Bailey Han, I love you. That's why I got close to you." He suddenly put his hands on Su Yunxian's shoulders and wanted to push her away. She was caught off guard and threw herself into his arms. Her voice was choked with sobs. "Han, I'm so scared. I'm scared that you'll fall in love with another woman." "Don't be silly," she wrapped her arms around his neck. "Han, do you know that you've changed a lot recently? In the past, you wouldn't even look at other women, but now, you and that Xia Dong, there's nothing between us." Bailey Han sighed and said gently, "Don't think too much. Then tell me, what happened that night? Why did you end up on a deserted island?" "Yunxian, I've already explained this matter. I was alone on a deserted island, and nothing happened, okay?" Bailey Han's tone was starting to become unhappy. "You're lying to me, you're lying to me. Han, you've never lied to me before." His temper rose as she kept questioning him. He blurted out without thinking, "Yunxian, you weren't like this before either. Where did the elegant, generous, and forgiving Su Yunxian that I liked go?" She froze. She had actually lost her mind. She kept warning herself not to ask him too much, but she just couldn't help it. She was afraid that she would no longer be able to control his heart. She smiled, a sad smile with tears in her eyes. Yes, I've changed. That's because we've been dating for 6 years. After 5 years of separation, we finally met again. I've already begun to worry about losing you. 6 years of love, when will it end? As soon as she cried, his heart softened. It'll end soon. Look, Xiao Yi has already tried to accept you. Things have already started to develop in a good direction, haven't they? She still had a lot to ask him, but she knew that he was already angry just now. If she continued, it would only make him feel disgusted. She knew when to stop while she was ahead. She leaned into his arms and apologized carefully. Han, I was wrong. Don't be angry with me, okay? I'm not angry. It's getting late. Rest early. You sleep in my room. I'll go to the guest room. I want to have a child for you. She pulled him with a shy expression. A child who looks like you. After we get married, I hope the child will look like you. Good night. He kissed her forehead. After we get married. Why not now? Was she not attracted to him at all? Su Yunxian was very angry, but she still smiled and said goodnight to him. Bailey Han walked towards the door. In the next moment, Su Yunxian suddenly screamed, "Ah, snake, snake." Bailey Han quickly turned around. The little green snake was dancing in the living room. When it heard a woman scream, it quickly crawled in the direction of the sound. Snake, snake, Han, get it out of here. The woman's shrill screams resounded throughout the room. She jumped back. She didn't know if it was because she was panicking too much, but she slipped and fell. Bailey Han rushed forward and caught her in his arms. Ah! She screamed again. Her beautiful face was distorted with fear and pain. Snake, bit me, Bailey Han's heart sank. He held her waist with one hand and quickly attacked the little snake's weak spot with the other. He crushed the snake to death with his bare hands. Butler, inform the doctor that Miss Su has been bitten by a snake. Ah. Okay. After more than 10 minutes, Suja rushed over. Fortunately, the snake's venom was not very strong. He removed the snake's venom and bandaged her wound. He whispered, "That's strange. Why did a snake suddenly come out of your room?" Bailey Han was also very strange. His face turned ugly and he ordered the butler, "Clean the villa tomorrow. If you let those dangerous things sneak in again, you don't have to work anymore." "Yes, young master." The butler's old face was very pale. Su Yunxian was most afraid of snakes. She didn't dare to live here anymore and insisted on going home. Bailey Han was worried about her, so he carried her to the car and personally sent her home. A small figure stood in front of a window on the second floor with a disdainful look on her face. She looked at the taillights of the car disappearing into the night and snorted coldly. "If you want to be my mommy, you have to ask me if I agree." Poor Xiao Qing, he was crushed to death by Daddy. Xia Dong was very happy. She actually received a text from Bailey Han last night. In the text, Bailey Han thanked her for the gift she sent him yesterday. He liked it very much. In order to express his gratitude, he invited her to the hotel for dinner and made an appointment to meet at 7:00 in the evening in room 305 of the hotel. This was a breakthrough. Tonight, she would take the opportunity to negotiate with him again. Xia Dong hummed happily and changed into different sets of clothes in front of the mirror. Xiao Bao was very curious about her unusual behavior. "Mom, are you going out on a date?" "Yes, Bailey Han asked me out." Xia Dong already regarded her son as her ally and no longer hid it from him. His small round face puffed up and his big eyes blinked. He said, "Mommy, do you want to call him first to confirm? What if he's just joking?" That's not very good. I'm afraid that I'll give him the impression that I'm anxious and I'm rushing him." Although in fact, she was really anxious. "Oh, that's right. Then you go on the date. Little Bun touched his chin and commented with a smile, although this dress is sexy, it's not revealing. It's very suitable. I'll take it. Yes, I think so too. Then I'll take it. Son, take good care of Xiao Guai. I'll be leaving first. Xia Dong kissed her son on the cheek and happily went out. When she reached room 305, Bailey Han was still not there. A waiter brought her a drink. She didn't even look at it and gulped it down. After waiting for a while, Bailey Han was still not there. She raised her wrist to look at her watch. Strange, it's already 7:00. Why isn't he here yet? She didn't know why, but she felt a little hot and irritated. She was too lazy to think about it and directly dialed Bailey Han's number. Hello, Bailey Han, this is Xia Dong. Have you left? I'm already at the hotel. Bailey Han was already on his way home. When he received the call, he was puzzled. What hotel? Xia Dong was even more irritated and her voice involuntarily rose. Didn't you ask me to meet at Grand Hyatt Hotel's room 305 last night? I never asked you out. Bailey Han thought she was playing tricks again. After saying this, he was about to hang up when he suddenly heard a scream from the phone. The phone in Xia Dong's hand was suddenly snatched away and thrown to the ground. She was also slapped in the face. Who are you? What do you want? Xia Dong angrily looked at the 5 men who suddenly barged in. They all had colorful hair, pierced ears, shiny earrings, and cigarettes in their mouths. They all looked like delinquents. B*TCH, didn't anyone tell you that this is our territory? How dare you barge into our room? Do you want to die? A man with blonde hair spat out the cigarette in his mouth and said fiercely. Did she accidentally barge into someone else's territory? That's not right. Didn't Bailey Han ask her to meet here? She thought for a moment and said calmly, sorry, I'll leave now. She walked towards the door. When she was one step away from the door, someone grabbed her arm and threw her towards the sofa. She quickly adjusted her body and steadied herself with one hand on the table. B*TCH, you want to leave? It's not that easy. Since you're here, stay. Play with us for a bit. The 5 of them smiled wretchedly and approached her step by step. Awesome novel, Songshu 566. Chapter 61. Bailey Han heard the screams on the phone. He called Xia Dong's name several times, but there was no response. He had a bad feeling. Without hesitation, he turned the car around and drove in the direction of the Grand Hyatt Hotel. His hands gripped the steering wheel and his fingers began to stiffen. He actually felt nervous and worried. The phone rang and he quickly picked it up. It was Su Yunqian's voice. Han, my leg hurts. Can you come over and keep me company tonight? He frowned slightly. Yunqian, I told Xiao Yi that I would go home and have dinner with him. I'll come over to see you tomorrow. Okay then. Are you home now? Not yet. I'm on the way. Then I won't talk to you anymore. Focus on driving and be careful. Su Yunqian threw the phone on the floor. She stood in front of the dressing mirror with a dazed smile on her face. Xia Dong, tonight, I'll make you remember it for the rest of your life. Grand Hyatt Hotel, room 305. Xia Dong supported herself with one hand on the sofa's armrest. She panted as she looked at the 5 men surrounding her. 2 of them had already been beaten to the ground by her. The other 3 were holding daggers and staring at her with bloodshot eyes. B*TCH, what's wrong? Can't fight anymore? A man with dyed red hair patted his hand with a dagger. I didn't expect you to have some skills. But later, you'll only be able to beg for mercy under our brothers. If it was under normal circumstances, she still had a chance to escape. But now, her head was dizzy and her body was hot. She felt as if there were ants gnawing on her organs. It was so itchy. She began to see double and couldn't see clearly. She wanted to tear her clothes to cool herself down. It was so uncomfortable. Don't talk nonsense with her. Let's attack her together. If we don't *CK her to death, I'm sorry for the punch I took just now. The man with yellow hair spat and rushed forward with a green light in his eyes. The other two also rushed up, tearing her clothes and pulling her hair. Xiaodong struggled with all her might, but her body's instinct told her that she actually wanted someone to hug her. Something was wrong. Something was very wrong. In a flash, she understood that she had been drugged with an aphrodisiac. There must be something wrong with the drink she drank when she walked into the room. She gritted her teeth, kicked her feet, and head-butted them. She used the most primitive methods to fight against the three wolves. However, the effects of the drug were about to reach its peak. Her resistance was getting weaker and weaker. Her clothes were all torn off, revealing her white and tender skin. Damn, this bitch's figure is really good. His skin is so smooth. Move aside, I want to be the first. What first or second? Why don't the three of us do it together? Look at her upper and lower body, they're just as mesmerizing, they said unbearable words as they climbed onto her body. At this moment, the room door was suddenly kicked open. Bailey Han rushed in and kicked two of them over. The man who was on top of Xiaodong's body had his entire row of gums broken. He rolled to the side and vomited. His mouth was full of blood mixed with broken teeth. Damn, who are you? How dare you meddle in our business? The three injured men, in addition to the two men who had been struck down by Xiaodong, all got up and rushed forward without a care for their lives. Bailey Han quickly took off his jacket and covered Xiaodong's body. His fierce punches and kicks quickly attacked the five men. His movements were fast and ruthless. With a few cracking sounds, the five men's leg bones were all broken. The most miserable one had all his ribs broken. The five men lay on the ground and cried. Their bodies were covered in blood. His fierce and bloodthirsty gaze swept across them. If there's a next time, I'll break your necks. He carried the trembling Xiaodong and strode out. When he walked out of the room, he called the police and asked them to deal with these scumbags. So hot, so uncomfortable. Xiaodong, who was burning with lust, had already lost her mind. She hugged Bailey Han and unconsciously rubbed against his body. The coolness of his body made her feel a little better. She moaned in satisfaction. So comfortable, Bailey Han's body stiffened, but he did not stop moving forward. He tightly held her in front of his chest to prevent her from falling. Damn it, they drugged you. Woman, stay still and don't move. His magnetic voice fell into her ears and made her feel at ease. However, her body was very uncomfortable. She sobbed. So uncomfortable, so hot. Bailey Han, help me, help me. He had originally planned to carry her to the hospital, but looking at her, it was too late. Bailey Han turned and entered the elevator. He booked a presidential suite. He rushed into the bathroom and put her in the bathtub. He turned on the cold water and washed her body. Because of the water, the clothes on her body slipped off, revealing her skin. Her entire body seemed to have been cooked, glowing with a pink luster. Her proud twin peaks were sticking out, and the mysterious valley was also exposed in front of his eyes. She rubbed against the cold bathtub impatiently, letting out a joyful and painful moaning sound. His body froze, his heart was burning, and there was a warm stream of heat flowing past his nose. He touched his nose and his hand was bright red. He actually had a nosebleed. He awkwardly wiped the blood from his nose and scolded himself in his heart. It was not like he had never seen a woman before. His cheeks were faintly pink. He looked away uncomfortably. You soak in the bathtub. I'll be outside. If there's anything, call me. He slammed the door and sat on the sofa, holding back his anger. The water in the bathtub was still splashing. Bailey Han's mind could not help but think of that seductive scene. His throat moved. He picked up the wine on the wine rack and poured a full glass. The burning feeling dissipated a little. He drank a few more glasses. His body finally calmed down, but his mind was not clear because the wine he hurriedly took was the highest concentration. Bailey Han knew that he was drunk and his head was starting to feel dizzy. Thus, he held his forehead and walked to the bedside, intending to rest for a while. Soon, he closed his eyes and his mind entered a state of chaos. At this moment, the bathroom door opened. Xia Dong walked out naked and dripping wet. "Water, I'm so thirsty," she touched the bottle on the table. Without even looking, she picked it up and drank 2 mouthfuls. She smacked her lips and sighed in relief. She finally felt much better. However, why did her head start to feel dizzy again? Water, wine? Damn it, she drank the wine as if it was water. The dryness and heat in her body had not completely dissipated. She started to feel dizzy again. She stumbled to the bed and accidentally fell into a warm embrace. Bailey Han was pressed down. He frowned uncomfortably and wanted to push the person on top of him away, but she hugged him tightly instead. The two people who were delirious hugged each other just like that. The soft and delicate body in his embrace rubbed against him uneasily, and soon, it ignited the fire in his body. His face flushed red and his eyes narrowed. He suddenly felt a little thirsty. He rubbed his face against her body and felt the moisture on her body. He touched her lips and there were still water droplets on them. He cupped her face and kissed it. He followed the flow of the water droplets and sucked them down bit by bit. His body also started to burn. The desire in his body was awakened. The water on her body was quickly evaporated by their body heat. When his raised part touched her legs, an electric current ran through his body. It was extremely comfortable, but it was still not enough. He flipped over and covered her under him. His hot palm slowly moved along her perfect curves. She shuddered and felt drunk. She couldn't help but reach out her arms to hook him and pull him closer to her. He couldn't hold it in anymore. He desperately needed a vent. Following his instincts, he finally found that quiet entrance. He bit her lips and slowly entered. It hurt. Her nails dug into his back. He felt her pain and stopped. He kissed her for a while more. When she got used to it, he began to move again. Inch by inch, it was all eroding. When it was all over, Bailey Han let out a low growl. Then, following his instincts, he began to go on a rampage. He had suppressed it for too long. Once he got a vent, it was as crazy as a storm. The next day, Xia Dong woke up first. She felt sore all over, as if her bones were falling apart. She also felt like she had been run over by a car. She was so tired that she didn't want to move. She forced herself to move her body. She actually touched a naked chest. She suddenly looked to her side. Bailey Han was sleeping peacefully beside her. The scariest thing was that his hand was still around her waist. She lifted the blanket and peeked. They were all naked. Wait a minute. She reorganized her memory. She was drugged and attacked. Then, someone rushed to save her. Then, she was thrown into the bathtub. After that, this was what happened. It really happened last night. It wasn't a dream. Xia Dong didn't know if she should be happy or sad. She took deep breaths and exhaled several times before she calmed down. Now wasn't the time to be conflicted. She had to clean up the battlefield before Bailey Han woke up. She had to pretend that nothing happened. Fortunately, Bailey Han drank last night. Because of his hangover, he wouldn't wake up for a while. She quietly withdrew from his arms and ran to clean up. After changing her clothes, she wet a towel and helped him clean up. Fortunately, she didn't scratch his front last night. As for his back, it was fine as long as he couldn't see it. When she brushed that part, she couldn't help but blush. She rubbed it twice. Oh God, it actually reacted and stood up. She was so scared that she quickly covered it with the blanket. After cleaning up all the traces she left behind, Xia Dong glanced at Bailey Han, who was still sleeping, and ran out of the door. Her body was still hurting, but she couldn't care less. She called the company and asked for a leave of absence. When Xia Dong got home, she realized that she hadn't been home all night. The children were very worried. Xiao Bao even mobilized Jiang Dao to look for her. At 11:00 last night, Xiao Bao couldn't get in touch with her, so he sent Jiang Dao. Jiang Dao rushed to the hotel just in time to see the police taking away a group of criminals. He guessed that his mom had fallen into a trap. Fortunately, his mom was fine. Xiao Bao regretted not being more vigilant in time. He definitely wouldn't let those bad guys off. Xia Dong roughly explained what happened last night. Of course, she skipped the part where she had sex with Bailey Han. "Mom, you must be tired. Get some rest," Xiao Bao said considerately. When she got back to her room, Xia Dong still hadn't calmed down. She called Yi Siki and confided, "Yezi, I succeeded, but I'm not happy at all. I wanted to persuade him to do IVF with me, but I didn't expect that we would still have sex." Yi Siki comforted her, "Since it already happened, don't think too much about it. Anyway, he was willing." Beauty novel, Songshu 566. Chapter 62. He was drunk, and I was drugged with an aphrodisiac. Is this fate? Xia Dong laughed self-deprecatingly and leaned back on the sofa. I did some calculations. Yesterday was my most dangerous period, and the chances of me getting pregnant are quite high. From today onwards, I can distance myself from him. So you're pretending that nothing happened? Yes, now I'm praying that I can get pregnant. In the hotel, when Bailey Han woke up, it was already close to noon. Because of his hangover, his head was still hurting. He leaned against the headboard and rested for a while before he remembered that he had thrown Xia Dong into the bathtub last night. He casually lifted the blanket and wanted to get out of bed, but he quickly pulled the blanket over himself. What was going on? Why was he naked? Could it be? He grabbed his clothes from the side of the bed and put them on, then rushed to the bathroom. There was no one in the bathroom, and it was very clean. There was only a tank of water in the bathtub. His handsome face darkened. That woman ran away again. Xia Dong arrived at the company in the afternoon. Just as she sat in the office, the phone on her desk rang. Hello, I'm Xia Dong. May I know who's calling? Woman, why didn't you turn on your phone? Bailey Han's anger was transmitted through the phone line, and Xia Dong's ears were buzzing. She held the phone a little further away. My phone was lost last night. She thought for a moment and said, it should still be in room 305 of the Grand Hyatt Hotel. Why didn't you wake me up in the morning? What happened last night? Why did I? He paused and lowered his voice. Why was I naked? Sure enough, he came knocking on her door. Xia Dong replied calmly, Mr. Bailey, I woke up in the bathtub early in the morning and saw you sleeping on the bed. Because of this difference in treatment, I was very angry, so I deliberately didn't wake you up. What's wrong with that? As for why you were sleeping naked, how would I know? Isn't it because you have a habit of sleeping naked? The person on the other side of the phone paused for a few seconds and didn't speak, but Xia Dong could hear his heavy breathing, as if he was trying hard to suppress something. Are you sure nothing happened last night? She raised her voice. I'm sure that nothing happened last night. All right, I'm going to start working now. Goodbye. As soon as he finished speaking, he hung up the phone. His actions were swift and smooth. Damn it, she actually hung up on him. Was this how she should treat her savior? Bailey Han was so angry that he slammed his fist on the table. However, he soon calmed down and thought about what had happened last night. He realized that Xia Dong had been set up by someone and that person knew a lot about them. Bailey Han specifically contacted the police chief and tactfully expressed his high concern about the attempted gang rape case last night. He also expressed his cordial attitude towards the victim. The police chief naturally understood what he meant and immediately said that he would investigate the situation as soon as possible and would not disclose any information about the victim. Su Yunxian quickly realized that her plan had failed. She angrily smashed the teacup, and her face was as cold as ice. Trash, all trash. You can't even handle such a small matter. Now that you've alerted the enemy, it'll be even more difficult to deal with her next time. Brother K said seriously, those brothers have been arrested and sent to the police station. If they can't handle it and say something they shouldn't, then it'll be very troublesome. In for a penny, in for a pound. Just make sure they can't speak. Su Yunxian looked at him disdainfully. This man was so useless. She really wondered how he became the leader of a gang. Baby, you're so smart. Brother K smiled and kissed her. He took out his phone and dialed a number. He said, Wild Wolf, find someone to get rid of those people in the police station. Also, tell the brothers to be careful. The person who saved that woman last night is definitely not simple. Su Yunxian's eyes flashed. Who was the person who saved that B*TCH last night? Those who saw him are all in the police station. I'm also very curious about who it is. Su Yunxian glanced at him. Be careful these days. Let's not see each other for the time being. If someone finds something that can be used against us, you know what to do. Don't worry. Even if I die, I won't give you up. He leaned over and touched her charming face. How could I bear to do that? Don't you think so, baby? Su Yunxian leaned on his chest with a coquettish smile on her face. You're just making me happy. But there was a flash of darkness in her eyes. Stinky man, if you dare to give me up, I'll make sure you die without a burial ground. Dead people were the best at keeping secrets. Brother K and Su Yunxian both had the same idea. They wanted the informants in the police station to get rid of the 5 troublesome people. However, the informants did not even have the chance to do anything. The bureau chief attached great importance to this case and locked the 5 criminals in a special room. Other than the bureau chief himself, no one else was allowed to get close to them. The bureau chief quickly used all his means to get information from the criminals. The leader of the Yen gang, Old K, was the mastermind behind this. He immediately reported this information to Bailey Han. Almost at the same time, Jiang Dao also found out that the attack on Xia Dong had something to do with the Yen gang. Because the situation was serious, he also reported this matter to Mika Keto. Therefore, Old K was in trouble. The Black Street was the most chaotic and dangerous area in a city. The people who gathered here were all fugitives and wanted criminals with criminal records. It was also the place where the major underworld forces were entrenched. Fights were common here and it was common for people to die here. Old K received a call from one of his underlings, saying that their forces in the Black Street had been wiped out. His underlings anxiously asked him for help. Old K hurriedly brought a group of people and rushed over, only to find that everyone in the Black Street had surrounded them. According to the rules of the Black Street, guns were not allowed. Therefore, the people who surrounded them were holding all kinds of knives in their hands. Some of them were even holding iron bars. Old K secretly gestured to the people behind him as he chuckled and said, "Friends, what are you doing? Is there a misunderstanding?" Tui, a man walked out with a 30-centimeter long knife in his hand. He had a head of exploding hair and wore ripped jeans and a t-shirt. He looked like a biker gang in anime. Old K, I can only say that you're unlucky to have offended someone you shouldn't have. They said that they'll give $1 million to whoever stabs you once. There were at least 100 people in this black mass. If each of them gave him a stab, then he would be cut into pieces. Old K looked at the crowd that was closing in on him. His forehead was covered in cold sweat. He suddenly shouted, "Don't move. You're too immoral. We're all from the Black Street. Why are you siding with outsiders? You can only blame yourself for offending someone too powerful. We can't afford to offend him." After the exploding head roared, he swung his long knife at Old K. "Yeah, Old K, don't blame us. We had no choice. We still want to stay in this black street for a few more years. A bald man rushed forward with the iron bar in his hand and hit one of Old K's subordinates. That subordinate fell to the ground and vomited blood. Let's go, everyone. For that million. Let's go. Kill Old K. Crazed shouts rose up like a tidal wave, and a vast group of people besieged him. Swords and sticks did not have eyes, and with a single slash, an arm was gone. Blood flowed everywhere, and severed arms and legs fell to the ground in a horrifying manner. Old K didn't care about the rules anymore. He took out a pistol and fired at the crowd. The person at the front covered his wound and cursed, F***CKU, Old K, you bastard. You actually used a gun. Brothers, take his gun and cut him into 1,000 pieces. Bang, bang, bang. The sound of gunfire continued. One by one, people fell down. Blood splattered everywhere. Old K dodged the attacks of knives and sticks while retreating under the cover of his subordinates. In his heart, he cursed Su Yunshan 1,000 times. F***CKU, stinky B***TCH. You knew the opponent wasn't to be trifled with, yet you pushed the job to me. Now, I'm being chased and I don't even know if I can survive until tomorrow. Ah, Old K screamed. He didn't know who threw a knife, but it cut off Old K's right wrist. His right hand fell to the ground, still holding the pistol tightly. Old K endured the pain and wanted to pick it up, but he was kicked away by someone behind him. His severed hand and pistol fell into the smelly ditch. Stop, everyone stop. I'll give each of you 1,000,000. Let me go. At this time, Old K was panicking. He was like a stray dog. His whole body was covered in blood as he wailed in pain. It's too late. We don't dare to take your 1,000,000. A blade landed on his back, and blood sprayed onto the surrounding people who were attacking him. Everyone expressionlessly wiped away the blood and continued to slash at his mangled body with their blades. Mournful screams and pleas for mercy resounded throughout the black street. Everyone looked on indifferently. From time to time, they would squeeze forward to add 2 more knives. Seeing that someone was about to chop his neck with a knife, a gunshot interrupted his action. A man wearing a black trench coat and black sunglasses appeared in front of everyone with a long gun on his shoulder. Behind him were 2 men in black suits and black sunglasses. The man said coldly, "Leave that man alive. The Sanka group wants him." When the man's voice fell, the surrounding people were shocked at first. Then, they began to whisper. Look at them. They seem to have a big background. We'd better not provoke them. Old K is someone the Dragon Gang wants to deal with. Now, the Sanka group suddenly appeared to protect him. Things are getting more and more heated. We'd better not get involved. That's right. It's more important to stay alive. Those people tacitly took a step back and opened up a path to Old K's mangled body. The man in the black trench coat tilted his head. The 2 men behind him immediately stepped forward. One on the left and one on the right of Old K, who was covered in blood. Get him to the trunk. Don't let him die. The man in the black trench coat took the lead and stepped into a Maybach. He took off his sunglasses, revealing a handsome Asian face, Jiang Dao. The Maybach sped all the way out of the Black Street sphere of influence and entered a luxurious entertainment club from the back door. 2 of his subordinates carried Old K up to the 10th floor of the building through a secret passageway and entered a room. The room was decorated very luxuriously and looked very unique. The entire wall facing the outside was made of crystal. From the outside, one could clearly see the situation inside. Not only that, but it also used the principles of physics to magnify the image. Even from the ground floor, one could clearly see what was happening in the room. Old K's tragic fate had just begun. Come and see, Hongcha 866. Chapter 63. Although he was bleeding all over, his vitals weren't injured, so he was still conscious and knew that he was taken away. He weakly said, "Sir, thank you for saving me. I will repay you. Can I trouble you to inform my brothers?" Jiang Dao bent down to look at him, a strange smile appearing on his face. "You don't have to repay me because I didn't save you. But don't worry, I won't let you die. When a person dies, there's no more pain, so there's no more fun. On the contrary, I'll let you live well." This was also the intention of the Beitang family head. Old K's eyes widened in horror. Jiang Dao straightened up and said condescendingly, "Oda, Keikuan likes sex and torture. Find a few people to play with him. 3 is too little, make it 5. I hope Keikuan will like our hospitality. F*CK you little Japanese, kill me if you have the ability." "Ah, what are you doing, let me go." Painful and angry cries rang out incessantly. Old K was tied to the oversized iron bed. 5 men as strong as gorillas walked in. With every step they took, the floor of the room seemed to shake twice. The 5 men were all naked, with only a small piece of cloth covering their lower bodies. The cloth was bulging, and they all had lecherous smiles on their faces as they stared greedily at the body that was still bleeding on the bed. Crash! A man pulled open the curtain covering the crystal wall. Another 2 men dragged the tightly tied old K to the table closest to the crystal wall. His hands that were tied behind his back were pressed tightly against the table, and his upper body was laid flat on the table. Then, he separated his legs, folded them upside down, and tied them to the 2 legs of the table on his shoulders. Old K's buttocks were raised high, exposing his most private part to the crystal wall. "Perform well. Your every move will be projected on the crystal wall for everyone on the street to see." Jiang Dao's cold voice came from outside the room. Old K could see the building on the opposite side of his face. A man pounced on him and pried open his buttocks, a second man forced his mouth open, a third. There was also a sound system installed in the room, recording all the voices of the people downstairs. "Ah, my God, what's with that strange wall? Is it a new electronic screen? What's with the heavy movie playing on the screen? That little bottom is so despicable. He's clearly in so much pain, yet he's still seducing the 5 little top guys. Oh, 6p. However, the characters here don't seem to have any beauty. The man below is covered in blood, and the 5 men are too majestic." A lot of mocking and teasing words were transmitted to Old K's ears through the sound system. He was so ashamed that he wanted to bang his head against the wall, but they wouldn't give him the chance. The 5 of them were like machines, torturing him over and over again. Blood mixed with the white and murky liquid sprayed everywhere. His body, hair, face, and mouth were all covered with that kind of fishy, pungent liquid. Old K's body had been injected with a strong aphrodisiac. He was clearly in great pain, but he still couldn't help but twist his body to accommodate their movements. The 5 men's mission was to humiliate Old K. Not only did they want to ravage him, but they also wanted to make him reach the height of his shame and sweep his dignity into the trash can. Death became his most extravagant wish. He was now in a situation where he couldn't live, but neither could he die. In the end, he couldn't bear the inhumane torture and wanted to bite his tongue to commit suicide. However, the men were 1 step ahead of him and knocked out all his teeth. Old K screamed in despair. Reality proved that his despair was correct. From then on, he embarked on the path of selling chrysanthemums. Even though Old K's fate was so miserable, he still didn't betray Su Yunxian. This was because his trump card was in Su Yunxian's hands. If he didn't want his family to die with him, he had to keep his mouth shut. Jiang Dao was under Mika Kito's orders to punish Old K, so he didn't tell Xia Xiaobao the truth. After all, some things weren't suitable for children. Therefore, Xia Xiaobao didn't know that Old K had embarked on the path of selling chrysanthemums. He heard from Jiang Dao that Old K was killed by people from the Black Street. Someone was 1 step ahead of us and punished Old K. When our people arrived, he was already dead. In fact, Old K was later sold to Africa to dig gold mines and sell chrysanthemums as a part-time job. Xia Xiaobao frowned. "Who are they?" "I heard that it's the Dragon Gang, the most mysterious and largest gang in a city. We haven't found out any details yet. The only thing we're sure of is that they aren't hostile to us. Xiao Zhao's voice sounded young, but it was very majestic. A strong dragon can't suppress a local snake. Don't be too ostentatious for the time being. In the future, don't act rashly without my orders. We'll make plans after Uncle Shen comes over. Yes. Don't tell my mommy about this. This subordinate understands. Xia Dong went to work like an ordinary white-collar worker. She had no idea that such a big thing had happened behind her back until Bailey Han called her. On the phone, Bailey Han said, "The people who hurt you at the Grand Hyatt Hotel have been dealt with. Use your brain more in the future. Don't be as stupid as a pig and jump into the hole that others dug for you." Hey, how can you say that? Xia Dong was about to protest when Bailey Han hung up on her. What's wrong with this person? Is there something wrong with his brain? Before she could finish criticizing him, a piece of news on the internet caught her attention. Blackstreet gang members fight, gang leader gets stabbed 100 times, blood flows on the streets. She clicked on it and saw that the gang leader of the Yen gang, Old K, had been hacked to death by people on the Blackstreet. Then, the news detailed Old K's crimes over the years. It was said that he was involved in murder, arson, rape, and robbery. It could only be said that this guy deserved it. Xia Dong sighed. Good people have good karma, bad people also have bad karma to deal with. She didn't take it to heart and didn't know that this matter had something to do with her. In the afternoon, Bailey Yun called to ask her to play golf on Saturday. She thought that she had nothing to do on Saturday and that it would be good to go out and relax, so she set a time to meet up. The weather on Saturday was very good. Xia Dong sent the two children to her aunt's house and drove to the resort. She didn't know that the person she couldn't avoid was waiting for her at an unexpected place. The people from the resort led her to the golf course. From afar, she saw Bai Liyun, who was dressed in sportswear, holding a golf club in his hand. He faced the golf ball and swung it elegantly. On the endless lawn, the ball slowly went into the hole. Xia Dong smiled and clapped. Nice shot. Bailey Yun turned to look at her. She was wearing a sportswear with short sleeves and a short skirt that exposed her knees. Her long hair was tied up in a ponytail. She looked fresh and cute, like a lively high school girl. Bailey Han raised his eyebrows and whistled, not hiding his admiration for her figure. His slender foxy eyes were full of smiles. Do you want to compete? Forget it. Xia Dong waved her hand. I'm just a rookie. I don't dare to compete with an expert like you. Otherwise, I'll lose badly. She held the golf club with both hands and swung it at the ball. She had the demeanor of a female general, but unfortunately, the ball went too far, and hit Bailey Yun's ball. Bailey Yun was convulsing with laughter. Xia, you're such a genius. You actually hit my ball. How did you manage to deviate so far from the track? You're simply too talented, ha ha ha. Xia Dong shrugged nonchalantly. You're funny. This is just my normal performance. If you're interested, I can teach you. It's a free kiss. Ha ha ha. Bai Lian hugged his stomach and burst into laughter. He wanted to roll around on the grass. Xia, you're so cute. All my troubles are gone when I see you. You're the happiest person in my life. Alright, seeing that I can eliminate your worries, shouldn't you provide me with a reward? She looked at him with a smile. She stretched out her hand and spread it open. It was obvious that she was up to no good. He crossed his arms and took 2 steps back vigilantly. He shouted exaggeratedly, "What do you want to do?" I'll make it clear in advance. I sell my skills, not my body. Xia Dong rolled her eyes. Don't worry. I'm very kind. I won't force you to do such inhumane things. Then what do you want as a reward? She blinked. Teach me how to play. Master, please accept a bow from your disciple. She put down the baseball bat, clasped her hands together, and bowed respectfully. Well said, well said. My good disciple, bring me a drink first. Bailey Yun shamelessly began to exercise his authority as a master. All right, wait for me, master. Xia Dong ran to the rest area. Her ponytail swayed behind her back. She was so youthful and beautiful. Bailey Yun's smile widened. Master, take a look at what you like. Pick whatever you want. Xia Dong ran back with a pile of drinks and stuffed them all into his arms. Bailey Yun's mouth twitched. He casually picked a bottle and handed it to her. Thank you, master. With a bright smile and a clear voice, Bailey Yun began to feel guilty for ordering her around. He coughed twice and said, take a break for a few minutes. Then, repeat what you did just now. I'll see what the problem is. Okay, master. She rubbed his shoulders obsequiously. Thank you for your hard work, master. All right, stop flattering me. I have a creepy feeling. Xia, you're not playing any tricks, are you? Bailey Yun shrugged his shoulders in disgust. Master, I'm too sad to hear you say that. I just want to respect you and be filial to you. She pouted her red lips and said pitifully. Stop, the word filial came out. He wailed and raised his hands in surrender. I give up. I apologize. I shouldn't have laughed at your terrible skills. Put away your weak and helpless expression. It really doesn't suit you. Well said, she smiled and patted his shoulder. The next issue of our magazine's exclusive interview is with the popular female star Lin Weiwei. The magazine discussed it with her agent but was rejected. I remember that you have a close relationship with her. Can you help her? Hey, you didn't agree to play golf with me because of this, did you? Bailey Yun glared at her unhappily. How could that be? I'm more than happy to have the handsome and suave second young master ask me out. How could I have such impure thoughts? She blinked innocently. So? You can help, okay? Okay. It's just a matter of a phone call. Bailey Yun really didn't know what to do with her. He handed the club to her in a bad mood. Let's play. Welfare, Songshu 566. Chapter 64. She smiled as she swung her golf club. This time, her golf ball didn't collide with someone else's ball. Instead, it flew far away and hit the person who was playing in the distance. That person's shoulder was hit and he naturally turned around. Then, Xia Dong had the urge to throw herself on the ground. Bailey Han. Damn it. Who could tell her why Bailey Han was here? Of course, Bailey Han saw her as well. His obsidian-like eyes flashed with complicated emotions. He said a few words to his partners who were playing basketball with him, then walked over to Xia Dong and the others. Xia Dong covered her face. She didn't want to see anyone. Bailey Yun's hand landed on her shoulder and he sighed. Just based on your golf skills, I'm deeply ashamed. Bailey Yun. If you mock me again, I'll bite you to death. Bailey Han was walking over. He was walking towards them. She was already very frustrated, but this guy was still adding fuel to the fire. Bailey Yun looked meaningfully at the person who was walking towards them. His lips curled into a faint smile. Don't worry, I'm here. Besides, I only hit him. He won't go so far as to kill you. Sob. Give me a piece of tofu and I'll just kill myself. Bailey Han was wearing a set of white sportswear. The bright color made him look less cold and hard than usual. Instead, he looked more casual and at ease. Taking advantage of the endless lawn, he slowly walked over. It really did give off the feeling of an orchids and jade trees. However, his voice was as cold as ever. Your ball. There was no expression on his face. His deep black eyes looked at Xia Dong. He stretched out his arm and slowly opened his palm. In his palm was the golf ball that she had just hit. So, he wasn't here to pick a fight, but to return the ball? Xia Dong's brain instantly stopped working. Thank you. She reached out to take the ball from his palm. Her fingers brushed across his palm, and he immediately felt a numb feeling flowing through his palm. His heart tightened, and he quickly grasped her hand, wrapping her hand in his palm as well. Xia Dong's body stiffened. She tried to pull her hand away but couldn't. Bailey Yun took a step forward and put his arm around her waist in a protective posture. There was an apologetic smile on his face. Brother, Xia's golf skills aren't good. She didn't mean to hit you. Please forgive her. Yes, it was an accident. I'm sorry. Please let go of me. Bailey Han looked at Bailey Yun's hand around her waist. Xia Dong. Bailey Han, stop right there. Bailey Han pulled her forward a few steps and finally stopped. Right here. I'll teach you how to play. Let go. I don't need you to teach me. I already have a master. Xia Dong used her left hand to pry his hand away. Brother, Xia has already acknowledged me as her master. I won't trouble you anymore. Bailey Yun followed over. He had a smile on his face, but his eyes were cold. Bailey Han's aura became even colder. He glared daggers at Xia Dong. Since you hit me, you have to apologize. I've already apologized. You're not sincere enough. I won't accept it. What do you want? Xia Dong didn't understand what was wrong with him. Learn from me until the ball goes into the hole without hitting anyone. I'm responsible for your lethality. He crossed his arms and looked at her coldly. You're joking, right? I've never joked. Hold the cue stick. He didn't wait for her to refute. He pushed the cue stick into her arms and ordered coldly, start now. She was angry and glared at him. Why should I listen to you? He said leisurely, because your ball hit me. As the victim, I have the right to ask for compensation. Bailey Yun blocked him. Brother, Xia has already said that she's not willing. Don't force her. Two equally outstanding men, one on the left and one on the right, stood opposite Xia Dong, staring at each other with murderous gazes. She could almost feel the electric currents converging in the air, and she, who was sandwiched in the middle, felt immense pressure. She quietly took a step back with her right foot and retreated. Bailey Han grabbed her waist and said casually, deserted island. Xia Dong immediately froze. This despicable iceberg man actually threatened her. But she just had to be threatened by him. Bailey Han said again, did I force you? She smiled stiffly. No, why would you? Since you didn't, let's start. Relax your body, put your right hand here, and put your left foot like this. Bailey Han completely ignored Bailey Yun and guided her movement seriously. Bailey Yun was furious. He glared at Xia Dong with disappointment. Xia Dong smiled at Bailey Yun to please him. Before her smile was complete, Bailey Han turned her cheek away. Focus when you're playing. Bai Lian angrily threw the cue stick and left. She sat in the rest area and watched as that person placed his hand on her waist and helped her to correct her posture. She watched as he held her arm and helped her swing the cue stick. Bai Lian was so angry that he threw the ball and turned to leave. He drove his flashy car and sped away like a gust of wind. Bailey Han saw Bailey Yun explode in anger from the corner of his eyes. The corners of his lips curled up and he leaned closer to her. Unknowingly, his voice became gentle. Hold the cue stick like this. Look over here and aim. Very good. Xia Dong took a step back according to the method he taught her. She accidentally stepped on his foot and quickly apologized, I'm sorry. When she turned around, she realized that the two of them were so close that she could feel his body temperature and hear his heartbeat. Almost instinctively, Bailey Han hugged the woman in his arms. When he realized what he had done, Xia Dong had already raised her hand and slapped him. I am sorry. I suddenly remembered that I still have something to do. I'll leave first. Xiaodong didn't dare to look at his livid face and ran away. When she ran far away, she suddenly remembered that her things were still on the court and ran back. Bailey Han was still standing in the same place. There was no expression on his face, but the murderous aura that he released made the people around him afraid to come close. Xiaodong rushed over and grabbed her things. She laughed awkwardly and was about to sneak away again when he grabbed her wrist. You hit me and you want to leave just like that? What else can I do? Do you want me to stay and wait for your revenge? Treat me to afternoon tea. He said that he wanted her to treat him, but he didn't give her any time to answer. He grabbed her wrist and left. She shouted anxiously from behind, Fine, I'll treat you. I won't go back on my word. Please don't run so fast, okay? When she was dragged into Bailey Han's Rolls-Royce, Xiaodong was already out of breath. Bailey Han, what do you want? Afternoon tea, he answered calmly. Buckle your seatbelt. Xiaodong didn't have the strength to complain and buckled her seatbelt. The Rolls-Royce drove out of the resort. Bailey Han said, Let's go to the top of the mountain. Let's go to the shallow beach. You can see the sunset there. Since she couldn't avoid the fate of having afternoon tea with him, she should at least choose a place that she liked. The host is treating. Of course we choose a place that the guest likes, he retorted lightly. Since the host is footing the bill, why can't the host have the final say? We'll go to the shallow beach today. We'll go to the top of the mountain next time when you treat. He suddenly turned to look at her. Are you hinting that I can ask you out for tea another day? I'm just saying. Don't take it seriously. Bailey Han smiled slightly and changed their destination. He drove to the shallow beach and found a quiet and elegant tea house. The tea house was close to the sea. Standing in the corridor, they could feel the sea breeze and hear the sound of the tide. They chose a table near the balcony. A beautiful woman in a cheongsam ordered tea elegantly and blended into the surrounding atmosphere. It was indeed very comfortable. Xiaodong relaxed and leaned into the soft chair. She politely tried to find a topic to talk about. Why are you at the golf course? To accompany a business partner. Xiaodong was speechless. You just left him like that? Ever since he came to find trouble with her with the ball, he hadn't gone back. What an irresponsible jerk. He glanced at her indifferently. I told him that I had to deal with some personal matters. Oh, after that, the two of them fell silent. He suddenly said, The pillow is very comfortable. That's good. I went to many shops to find it. According to the shop owner, the amount of stuffing in this pillow has been scientifically calculated, and it's the most ergonomic. After the gift was approved, she happily talked about her shopping experience. Help me buy 5 more. I want to give them to my family. Huh? Did he think she was a purchasing agent? How much did you spend? Report to me and I'll return it to you tenfold. He really thought she was a purchasing agent. Grandpa, Grandma, my parents and my son, one each. Wait, sorry to interrupt. Mr. Bailey, I can give you the contact number of the shop directly. You can get your assistant to buy it. I believe in your taste. He took a sip of tea with a calm expression. But don't you think it's troublesome? I don't think so. He looked as though it was only right. Of course you don't think so. Because I'm the troublesome one. She gritted her teeth. He smiled. Then I'll have to trouble you. In return, I'll treat you to tea next time. You don't have to force yourself. Really, I think we can keep a distance and not do anything that will cause misunderstandings. He looked at her in surprise. Miss Xia, why would you have such a strange idea? Isn't it normal for friends to help each other? She wanted to bang her head on the table. She never knew that he had such a rogue side. He smiled. Any other questions? No. I'll send it to your office next Monday. She had a bitter expression on her face and her tone was full of resentment. Miraculously, he felt very happy. The depression that had accumulated at the golf course was all swept away. As an emotional single-celled animal, Bailey Hahn didn't hesitate to interpret his happiness as the thrill of revenge. Who asked her to hit his shoulder with her lousy golf skills? As for asking her to treat him to afternoon tea, that was purely to make up for it. Young master didn't define this behavior as pestering or any similar words. Although she was forced, Xia Dong still put in a lot of effort when choosing the pillows. She chose a pair of white-haired old men with youthful faces for the old madam and old master. She chose a misty rain painting in Jiangnan for Bai Jinxiu. She chose a landscape painting in early autumn for Bailey Xiong. The pillow she chose for Bailey Hahn's son was a mother cat holding a baby cat with a large English letter, love, on the back. Beauty novel, Songshu 566. Chapter 65. On Monday, Bailey Hahn looked up at the door of his office every hour or two. It was not until the afternoon that his secretary knocked on his office door with a big box in her arms. There were 5 pillows, and all of them were very beautiful, especially the one for his son. Bailey Hahn regretted not getting one more for himself. Although he already had one in his office, he could have gotten another one to use at home. Xia Dong had just finished a meeting when her phone rang. It was Bailey Hahn. My family likes the pillows you chose. To express my gratitude, I'll treat you to dinner tonight. Do you have time? Xia Dong raised her eyebrows. I don't have time tonight, tomorrow night, or even Friday night. She had to go home to accompany her son and daughter. How could she have time to accompany him? It's okay. I'll make an appointment for Saturday. His attitude was so good that there was nothing to say. There was no sign of anger at all. This made Xia Dong panic. Could it be that he wanted to pursue her? No, that's not right. He already has a fiancée. Then why was he playing tricks to get back at her? Okay. She gritted her teeth. Before she was completely sure that she was pregnant, she couldn't be too ruthless. It was as if Bailey Hahn had been possessed. He was a completely different person. He was so gentlemanly and polite. After she entered the dining room, he even pulled out a chair for her. When they were eating, he even carefully put food in her bowl. Xia Dong ate as if she was sitting on pins and needles. She couldn't understand what he was thinking at all. Indeed, an icy face suited him better. A week later, Xia Dong felt that she could finally be free. Because she was pregnant. For the sake of caution, she deliberately used 5 pregnancy test kits. The test results all showed that she was pregnant. Her efforts had finally paid off. Xia Dong happily told Yisiki the good news. She hugged her son and daughter and kissed them fiercely. Babies, Mommy will take you out for a picnic this weekend. She had been busy with borrowing seeds and hadn't played with the children in a long time. Okay. Mommy is the best. Xiao Guai hugged her neck and cheered. Mom, did you pick up money on the street? Did you get a raise? Got a promotion? Or did you win a prize? Xiao Bao asked with a doubtful look on his face. Xia Dong giggled. No. Mommy just wants to go out and play with you. She had another plan, and that was to kick Bailey Hahn out of the picture. No matter what his motive was, he would definitely not get close to her in the future after seeing her worst side. Xia Dong arranged to meet at a bar. She was wearing a sexy spaghetti strap dress, heavy makeup, and a wine-red wig as she appeared in front of Bailey Hahn. She leaned on his arm flirtatiously and said in a coquettish voice, "Hey, handsome, why are you here alone? Do you want me to have a drink with you?" Bailey Hahn looked at her coldly and let her hand wander from his shoulder to his chest without saying a word. "Handsome, since you're not saying anything, I'll take it as a yes." She smiled flirtatiously and pushed a glass of wine in front of him. She pouted her sexy lips and said coquettishly, "Come on, let's have a drink, okay?" "Xia Dong, what are you doing?" Bailey Hahn suddenly said and pushed her away from his lap. Oh, you recognized me. She blinked her large eyes and smiled flirtatiously. This is my true appearance. Do you like it? He spat out 2 words indifferently, boring. The smile on Xia Dong's face was about to crack. She clenched her fists fiercely. Okay, it seemed like she had to use her trump card. She smiled and raised her eyebrows. Since you think I'm boring, then I won't be an eyesore here. I'll go find some fun myself. She swayed her slender waist and walked to the middle of the dance floor flirtatiously. A handsome man immediately walked in front of her and said with a smile, "Hey baby, why haven't I seen you around recently?" She leaned on the man like a koala and looked at him flirtatiously. Because I've been too busy recently. Baby, did you miss me? Of course, it's not just me. The other handsome men in the nightclub missed you too. The handsome man hugged her slender waist. The 2 of them were almost stuck together and danced to the music. In the middle of the dance floor, the couple's bodies were tightly pressed together. Bailey Han noticed that the man's palm was supporting her waist and another hand was rubbing her back. As for her, she was looking at him tenderly, as if she was looking at her lover. After the dance, the handsome man kissed her cheek. Then, another handsome man went on stage. Bailey Han, who was watching from the side, couldn't stand it anymore. Good for you, Xia Dong. Not only were you flirting with other men, you even danced. Not only did you dance, but you even changed to a second, a third, and a fourth. Do you still have any integrity? The wine in the wine glass seemed to have turned into a bitter liquid. It tasted terrible. Bailey Han was very irritated. The music was so loud that it gave him a headache. The usually calm and rational young Master Bailey didn't care about his image and rushed to the dance floor with a fierce face. He grabbed Xia Dong's wrist and said, "That's enough. Come with me." Xia Dong flung his hand away and shouted angrily, "What right do you have to control me? You're not my boyfriend nor my husband. What right do you have to control me?" Her shout was especially loud. Everyone on the dance floor fell silent and focused their attention on the 2 of them. Bailey Han's face darkened. His handsome face was cold and he stared at her with a sharp gaze. Say that again? Xia Dong raised her chin. Say it again then. Who's afraid of who? You're not my boyfriend nor my husband. What right do you have to control me? What right do you have, Bailey Han abruptly pulled her into his embrace and used his mouth to block her chattering little mouth. Wow, the people around them were shocked. His anger was transmitted through this kiss. He sucked and bit her lips fiercely until he tasted blood in his mouth. Only then did he soften his actions. After the initial shock, Xia Dong stomped on his foot heavily, but he nimbly dodged it. She bit his lips fiercely again, but he still didn't let go. Her right elbow struck his ribs fiercely. This time, he finally let go of her. Bastard, are you king addicted? Xia Dong didn't care about her image and scolded him loudly. She threw a left hook at his cheek. Caw. He suddenly grabbed her wrist, his eyes burning with anger. If you continue to mess around, I'll use the same method to shut you up. Wow, a group of infatuated women made a sound. They even whispered among themselves, that man is so manly. I want him too. Xia Dong rolled her eyes in her heart and sneered. If you're rude to me again, I'll sue you for sexual assault. Young master, don't forget that you have a fiancé. Although I like handsome guys, I don't like handsome guys who are taken. So, please don't pester me in the future. She flung his hand away forcefully and walked away in her 10-centimeter high heels. So he's a married man. Sigh, what a pity. Bailey Han's entire body exploded with a ruthless aura. His eyes were cold and his malicious eyes swept across the crowd. The people around him immediately scattered like birds and beasts. God, this man was too scary. That damned woman. No one had ever dared to speak to him like that. She actually despised him. Damn it. How could he like her? A woman like her who seduced men everywhere, He would find her dirty even if she was given to him. She had completely forgotten who had hugged and kissed her just now. After Yi Siki heard Xia Dong's story of dumping him, she mercilessly knocked her on the forehead. Aren't you going overboard? You just had a good time with him and now you're turning your back on him. This is a classic example of irresponsible behavior. Xia Dong shrank into the sofa. I'm not. I'm doing this for his own good. I don't want to ruin his relationship with Su Yunxian. Yi Siki gave her a look that said, go ahead and bullsh *t, alright, I admit it. It's mainly for me and the children. I don't care if he's really forgotten or if he doesn't remember what happened 5 years ago. I don't want him to find out about Xiao Bao and Xiao Guai and snatch them away from me. Yi Siki rolled her eyes. Haven't you thought of snatching him away and reuniting your family of 4? Xia Dong shouted exaggeratedly, sis, it's still daytime and you're already dreaming? Firstly, I don't want to get married. Secondly, what kind of person is Bailey Han? Why would he marry someone like me? Firstly, you don't want to get married because you haven't met someone you want to marry. Who knows, maybe Bailey Han is that person. Secondly, someone like you? What's wrong with someone like you? You're a high-class white-collar worker with an annual salary of a few $100,000. You can support yourself and your children. You're beautiful and capable. Only an idiot wouldn't fall for you. Yi Siki retorted in disappointment. Xia Dong hugged her and grinned as she rubbed her face against hers. That's because you're my friend. That's why you can see the good in me. But Bailey's family is so rich that they can rival a country. They want to marry a daughter from a wealthy family. Would they marry a commoner like me? It's not impossible for a sparrow to turn into a phoenix. Aren't there many commoner women among the British princesses? Xia Dong blinked. That's just an example. It can't be promoted as the truth. Yi Siki poked her arm and smiled slyly. What about Bailey Yun? I think he's very interested in you. Didn't he ask you out to play golf some time ago? Spare me. I only treat him as a good friend. Moreover, he's Bailey Han's younger brother. If I really develop feelings for him, it'll be so awkward. He's such a handsome and rich eligible bachelor. How can you not be moved by him? Yi Siki held her forehead speechlessly. Oh my God, you're wasting God's gift. I really wonder if you like women. Xia Dong smiled sinisterly. Then aren't you in danger? Yi Siki hugged her chest and stepped back. Sorry, I already have a husband and a child. I'm determined not to be gay with you. Xia Dong's expression turned serious. She said in all seriousness, anyway, I won't get married. Dear, let's not talk about this anymore, okay? Yi Siki froze. Xia Dong narrowed her eyes. I'm planning to take the children out for a picnic and fly kites this weekend. Do you want to come along? Sure. But my old Lin has an operation this weekend, so he can't go with us. I know your gynecologist is very busy. Let's not make things difficult for him. Take your Nyonyo and my 2 little guys to the suburbs this weekend. Since there were women and children, Xia Dong didn't dare to take everyone to the mountains. She drove the car to the suburbs highway. About 500 meters away from the highway was a wide lawn with lush trees, a gurgling river, and unknown wildflowers blooming on the lawn. The scenery was quite beautiful. Xiao Guai and Nyonyo were like wild horses that had escaped their reins, running around happily on the lawn. Ad Shinwu 799. Chapter 66. Xia Dong was worried about Xiao Guai's health, so she reminded her to run slower and not fall. Xia Dong and Yi Siki kept an eye on the child as they laid out a tablecloth on the grass and placed the food they brought from home on the tablecloth. There were steak, fried chicken legs, prawns, fish fillets, vegetable salad, fruits, and many other snacks. While they were having fun, a Rolls-Royce stopped not far away. A handsome man in casual clothes stepped out, followed by a little boy in sportswear. Xia Dong was the first to see them. When her gaze fell on Bailey Han, she was stunned. She turned to look at the little boy behind him, and her face suddenly turned pale. Bailey Han's son was actually him, Bailey E. She was an idiot. They both had the same surname, Bailey, and they were both so outstanding. Why didn't she think of it? Yi Siki asked, "Little Xia, what's wrong? Why do you look so pale all of a sudden?" Bailey Han is here, and his son. Yi Siki turned around to take a look, then quickly turned around and put his hand on her shoulder. "It's okay, don't be nervous. Didn't you say that in front of outsiders, the children should call you auntie? They're so smart. As long as you remind them, they'll understand." "No, you don't understand. It's not just because of that." Xia Dong's heart began to turn cold. Her eyes were filled with desolation and helplessness as she muttered, "He hates me. He hates me very much. He hates me for abandoning him." She would never forget Bailey Yi's lonely expression in the zoo, and the words he said. She knew that he hated her. Yi Siki looked at the helpless Xia Dong, and his heart ached. He hugged her and patted her back gently as he whispered, "Little Xia, don't be like this. You still have Xiao Guai and Xiao Bao." Enemies were bound to meet on a narrow road. They were already in the suburbs, yet they still bumped into each other. "Yes, I still have Xiao Guai and Xiao Bao. I can't do this." Xia Dong gradually calmed down. When she was ready to face them, Bailey Han and Bailey E had already walked past them. The father and son walked towards the empty lawn with the same cold expression. They looked straight ahead and did not even look at her. A large group of people followed behind them. Soon, servants held up umbrellas above their heads. Servants also set up folding chairs, tables, and food. "Brother, look. It's Brother E. Is that handsome uncle next to him his daddy?" Xiao Guai tugged at her brother's arm curiously. Xiao Bao also noticed them. Her eyes were fixed on the father and son. Her small lips pursed, hiding her anger. They actually dared to appear in front of Mommy. This was too much. Bailey E sat under the umbrella as the nanny served him attentively. Bailey Han looked around and then walked towards the river. His assistant, Lu Ziheo, followed behind him with a document in his hand. As he walked, he read, "President, the survey results show that the lawn has a total area of 2,400 square meters. The lawn is 560 meters away from the road and 278.9 meters away from the river. What do you think about building a water park here?" Bailey Han suddenly turned around and asked him. "Will it be too far from the city?" Generally, amusement parks were built in the city with convenient transportation. This area has already been planned as the outer development circle of the city. Otherwise, I wouldn't have spent 20 million to buy this land. In addition, within a year, 2 highways will be diverted here, so transportation will be more convenient. Bailey Han had bought this land, but he had not decided what to do with it. His son's plan for the amusement park made his eyes light up. He brought his son along to inspect the site to see if it was suitable. The result was satisfactory. Building a water park was very practical. After telling Lu Ziheo some things, he stood alone by the water and thought about things. From time to time, he heard the laughter of children. He knew that it was the child that Xia Dong and her friend had brought. He did not turn his head to look. He wanted to ignore everything about her and not let her control his emotions. However, Bailey E, who was sitting alone under the umbrella, could not help but look at them. They were flying a kite. Xiao Guai was holding the kite from behind, while Xia Xiaobao was running in front. When the kite was in the sky, he handed the string to her. "Brother is so nice," Xiao Guai giggled. Her crisp laughter echoed on the quiet lawn. She opened her palm and gave the chocolate in her hand to Xia Xiaobao. "Brother, this is your favorite chocolate. I saved it for you." Xia Xiaobao touched her soft hair. Nyonyo ran over with a pastry and stuffed a piece into each of their mouths. The three children pointed at the pastry crumbs on each other's faces and laughed. Hearing their joyous laughter, Bailey Yi's little face was expressionless, but his clear eyes revealed a hint of admiration. When Bailey Han came back, he saw this scene. He touched his head. "Didn't you bring a net to catch butterflies?" "Daddy will catch butterflies with you." Bailey Yi wanted to make a butterfly specimen, so he took the opportunity to go out with his father and brought a net to catch butterflies. Bailey Han rolled up his sleeves. Even though he was holding a net, his movements were as elegant as a European aristocrat. Xia Dong watched Bailey Yi run around with a small net from afar. Bailey Han smiled and said something. His little face puffed up and showed an unconvinced expression. She couldn't help but guess what Bailey Han said to make him show such a cute expression. She felt a little sad. Since he was born, she had never hugged him or taken care of him for a minute. No wonder he resented her. "Mommy, what's wrong? Your eyes are red." At some point, Xiao Guai had sat down beside Xia Dong and worriedly asked. "Mommy is fine. Just now, a little bug flew into Mommy's eyes." She quickly wiped the corners of her eyes and said with a smile. "Mommy, let me help you blow." Xiao Guai raised her head seriously. Her chubby little hands held her cheeks and gently blew on her eyes. Xia Dong smiled and blinked. "The little bug is out. Mommy is fine. Baby is amazing." "Xiao Guai, do you remember what Mommy said before? In front of outsiders, you have to call Mommy Aunt. If someone asks, you have to say Mommy is your aunt. Do you understand?" Yes, I still remember, Aunt." "Good girl." Her heart trembled and she hugged her daughter tightly in her arms. From beginning to end, Bailey Han didn't look at Xia Dong and the others. He quickly caught 2 beautiful butterflies, but Bailey Yi didn't catch any. He smiled and teased his son. "So there are things my son is not good at." Bailey Yi puffed up his cheeks angrily and stared with his big eyes. "Daddy, I'm only 4 years old. When I'm as tall as you, I'll definitely be more capable than you." Bailey Han found his puffed-up cheeks very interesting and couldn't help but pinch them. The smile in his eyes widened. Bailey Han's son, is naturally very capable. Of course. Bailey Yi raised his chin coolly, looking insufferably arrogant. Bailey Han laughed. This was the first time he laughed openly in front of everyone. The servants looked as if they had seen a ghost. Bailey Yi also had an expression of, "Wow, so it can be like this." Bailey Han didn't take his son's surprise seriously. He directly picked him up from the ground and said, "Xiao Yi, do you want to try throwing me high?" His son's eyes widened even more. "Throwing me high? Is this what many fathers do in TV dramas?" It was as if he was facing a sacred ceremony and he nodded cautiously. "Don't worry, I'm here. I won't let you get hurt," he said comfortingly and then threw him up. Bailey Yi bit his lip and didn't scream. His little face was full of surprise. Xia Dong, who had been secretly watching them, almost went into shock. She jumped up from the ground. Fortunately, Yi Siki held her hand. "Little Xia, don't be agitated." Bailey Han caught his son steadily. Xia Dong sighed in relief. Yi Siki sighed. "I think we should go back first. If this goes on, you'll definitely not be able to resist rushing up." Xia Dong didn't say anything. She watched as Bailey Han tossed her son up and down and caught him steadily. Her heart also went up and down, rising and falling unsteadily. By the time Bailey Han and his son finished the game, Xia Dong and the others had already left and were walking on the road. He couldn't help but wonder what the relationship between her and the 2 children who were so close to her was. No, he had decided not to care about her anymore. No matter what she did, it had nothing to do with him. In less than a month of pregnancy, Xia Dong began to have pregnancy symptoms. She retched and felt nauseous. Fortunately, she hid it well and didn't arouse suspicion. On this day, Xiao Tianxing called to invite her to a barbecue party at his ranch on the weekend. When she heard that Bailey Han and Su Yunxian were also going, she immediately declined. Xiao Tianxing said with a smile, Yun already expected that you would refuse, so he asked me to tell you that if you don't come, he will ask Lin Weiwei to refuse the interview with your magazine. Xia Dong smiled bitterly. It seems that I have no choice but to accept. Please help me tell Bailey Yun that I despise his despicable behavior. Xiao Tianxing laughed. Don't worry, I will definitely pass on this sentence. After work on Friday, Bailey Yun drove his flashy red sports car, holding a large bouquet of perfumed lilies to Xia Dong's downstairs to pick her up. Bailey Yun rarely wore formal suits. He usually wore casual clothes, but today he wore an expensive handmade suit for the first time. The high-grade silver made his figure very tall and straight. He gentlemanly sent the flowers and smiled. I came here to apologize to you. Miss Xia, please forgive my despicable behavior. Xia Dong raised her eyebrows in amusement. Do you think I can be bought with a bouquet of flowers? Of course not, so I have already booked a restaurant. I don't know if Miss Xia would like to honor me. Okay, which restaurant? Keep it a secret first. I promise you will be surprised. You are so mysterious. If I am not surprised, I will embarrass you. His charming fox eyes were full of smiles. Don't worry, I am full of confidence. Get in the car. What about my car? Give me the key, I will ask my friend to help you drive it back. Bailey Yun made a phone call. In less than 5 minutes, a young handsome man riding a motorcycle rushed over. He threw the key to the handsome man. Son, this is my girlfriend's car. Be careful, the address is, don't worry, I will definitely send the car back to sister-in-law completely. I will put the key in the security room of the community. The handsome man called a son, waved to the two and drove away. Hey, when did I become your girlfriend? Don't talk nonsense. Xia Dong waited for Bailey Yun's friend to leave and began to settle accounts. Welfare, Xinwu 799. Chapter 67. I'm just trying to make Asen pay more attention to you. Don't be angry, I'll take you to eat something delicious later. Appa, you've watched too many Korean dramas. Huh, Xia, you're so cute, get lost. The sports car drove from the city to the suburbs, and then from the suburbs to the mountain road. The sky was already dark, and the car was still winding around the mountainside. Xia Dong joked, Are you taking me to the wilderness in Strange Tales from a Chinese studio? Bailey Yun laughed, Don't worry, there are no fox spirits or female ghosts in painted skin here. We'll be there soon. After driving for more than 10 minutes, they finally arrived at their destination. They were now at the top of the mountain, and there was a large lake here. The restaurant that Bailey Yun mentioned was built in the middle of the lake. To be exact, it was not a luxurious restaurant, but a quaint wooden house. The only way to the wooden house was a wooden bridge. Countless lotus lanterns were lit on the lake, and the whole restaurant seemed to be floating on the water. It was so beautiful that it surprised her. It's so beautiful. How did you find this place? Bailey Yun took her hand and walked onto the wooden bridge. The person who lives here is a friend I met in the United States. He used to run a Chinese restaurant in the United States, but he eventually returned to his hometown to retire. This is where he settled down. He pointed to the hillside opposite the lake for her to see. Over there is the villa that he built. This wooden house is the place where he entertains his friends when he's itching for skills. Walking into the wooden house, the decoration was very simple, but it was all very quaint. She could see the patterns on the wooden table and wooden chairs, and it made her feel relaxed and happy. A white-haired old man walked out from the inner room. His wrinkled face was peaceful. Yun, is this the lady you were talking about? Bailey Yun raised his eyebrows. Yes, Uncle Chin. I brought her here to see you. Of course, there's another reason, which is to freeload your food and drink. Xia Dong nodded politely. Uncle Chin, sorry to trouble you. Uncle Chin laughed. It's no trouble at all. Have a seat first, and the dishes will be served soon. After that, he beckoned a pretty girl to pour tea for them, and he went back into the room. After a while, the sumptuous dishes were served one by one. The tomato-stewed beef brisket with some coriander was very attractive in color. The milky white ginseng chicken soup emitted a fresh, sweet, and mellow aroma. There were also fresh and delicious stir-fried seasonal vegetables, which were verdant and tender, which aroused people's appetite and made them restless. "Uncle Chen, aren't you joining us?" Xiaodong stood aside with his hands behind his back when he saw Uncle Chen serving the dishes. I can't wait, there's a cake in the kitchen." Uncle Chen to them personally to serve them some sweet rice wine. Xiaodong smiled shyly. "Sorry, I can't drink. I get drunk the moment I touch alcohol." Uncle Chen smiled kindly. "This is Japanese rice wine. The alcohol content is very low. You won't get drunk if you drink a little." Bailey Yun seemed to have thought of something and laughed. "Forget it, let's not persuade her to drink." "Uncle Chen, you don't know, last time she got drunk, she pulled my brother and left." Xiaodong stopped him. Hey, don't say any more, it's too embarrassing." "Young people, what are you afraid of? It's okay to be embarrassed. In one's life, it's only interesting to do things that are out of line a few times." Uncle Chen smiled and put away the wine. Yun, don't drink anymore, you still have to drive." Not sure if she was moved by Uncle Chen's words, but Xiaodong suddenly had the urge to try. She took a sip of the wine in the cup, the fragrance lingered in her mouth, and there was no smell of alcohol at all. Unknowingly, the cup of wine went down her stomach. She blinked and laughed. "This is the first time in my life that I didn't get drunk after drinking." "But your face is already red." Bailey Yun supported his head with one hand, admiring her red cheeks from the wine. At this moment, she was really beautiful. Her eyes were like treasures, and there was a faint mist in them. Her eyes flashed with an intoxicated luster. He couldn't help but reach out and use his finger to trace her delicate eyebrows, caressing her plump lips. Her eyes revealed surprise and uneasiness. He suddenly retracted his hand and smiled mischievously. "How is it? Are you satisfied with the place I brought you to?" She smiled and nodded, couldn't be more satisfied. Bam! The lights suddenly went out, and Uncle Chen's voice came from the quiet room. "Let's welcome the last dessert." Under the cold moonlight, Uncle Chen walked out from the room with a cake in his hands, and the cake was lit with candles. Yun, happy birthday." Uncle Chen placed the cake on the table. "Thank you, Uncle Chen." Bailey Yun's eyes flashed with a smile. He saw Xiaodong's shocked expression under the candlelight, and then she puffed her cheeks. Just when he thought she was going to be angry, she suddenly laughed again. "So it's your birthday today." "Happy birthday, I also want to give you a present." Bailey Yun was very curious. "What present?" She smiled and didn't answer. She turned to Uncle Chen. "Uncle Chen, do you have any musical instruments here?" Uncle Chen was a classical music enthusiast. "I have an arrow here." "That's great, can I borrow it?" "Of course." Uncle Chen took the arrow. Bailey Yun watched as she took the arrow, skillfully plucked the strings, and then tuned it. She tilted her head slightly and focused on the arrow, as if she was about to start a sacred work. Her fingertips slowly plucked the strings, and just as the notes jumped a few bars, Uncle Chen became excited. It was a reflection of the moon. He didn't expect this little girl to play the arrow, and what was even more incredible was that she played it so well. The ethereal music flowed slowly under the moonlight, and her fingertips gently slid between the strings. She lowered her eyes and focused on playing. The moonlight shone on her body, and she was as charming as the goddess of moonlight. Bailey Yun was intoxicated by her music, and his deep eyes watched her all the way until the song ended. She raised her head and smiled slowly. "Bailey Yun, happy birthday." "Thank you, this is the most special present I've ever received." His heart trembled, and he tried hard to suppress something in his voice. Uncle Chen was very excited. "Xiao Xia, I didn't expect you to play the arrow." There aren't many young people who know this nowadays. My uncle likes the era very much, and under his influence, I learned it for 2 years. I haven't touched it in a long time, and my hands are a little rusty. I've embarrassed myself in front of Uncle Chen. You're too kind, you play it very well. It was getting late, and Uncle Chen asked them to stay for the night. However, Xia Dong didn't want the children to worry, so she insisted on going home. On the way back, the alcohol started to kick in, and Xia Dong felt a little dizzy. Walking on the wooden bridge was like walking on clouds. She put her hands behind her back and looked up at the night sky, taking light steps. Bailey Yun's heart skipped a beat when he saw this, and he quickly grabbed her arm. Xia Xia, watch your step. She turned back and giggled, I'm fine, I'm fine. Look, I can even dance. She stood on her toes and struck a classic ballet pose. She wanted to twirl around for him to see, but he grabbed her arm tightly and said helplessly, okay, I know you're very good. Let's stop fooling around and go home, okay? Yes, let's go home. I miss Xiao Bao and Xiao Guai so much. Let's go quickly. She hugged his arm and giggled foolishly. Bailey Yun couldn't help but facepalm. Sure enough, he couldn't let her drink. Bailey Yun tied her to the seat with the seatbelt and patted her head. Xia, I'm going to drive. Gigai, don't move. Okay, I know. Hurry up and drive. She grinned and laughed. Her rosy cheeks glowed seductively under the soft light, and her pure smile made him feel inexplicably happy. Her plump lips parted slightly, and his hand slowly moved from her head to her cheek. His eyes were filled with desire. Hee, it tickles. She laughed until her shoulders trembled. You naughty guy. His charming thoughts were broken by her laughter. He helplessly pinched her cheeks, exhaled a long breath, and started the car. The night scenery outside the car quickly passed by. The person beside him breathed steadily and slowly fell asleep. Bailey Yun occasionally glanced at her, and the smile in his eyes never disappeared. The car stopped in her neighborhood. Bailey Yun looked at her sleeping quietly and couldn't bear to wake her up. Suddenly, a pleasant ringtone sounded. She suddenly woke up, bounced up from the back of the seat, and rummaged around for her phone. Hello, baby. I'll be back soon. She picked up the phone and looked around. I'm already downstairs. I'll be up soon. After hanging up the phone, she exhaled and smiled awkwardly. Have we been here for a long time? I fell asleep. I was drunk. I didn't do anything strange, right? No, we just arrived. Bailey Yun was a little disappointed. I didn't do anything strange when I was drunk, right? He raised his eyebrows and smiled. You didn't do anything strange other than wanting to become a little swan and jump on Swan Lake. Ouch, Xia Dong covered her face in shame. I'm really not suitable for drinking. It's okay. I've seen a more exaggerated side of you. Bailey Yun smiled and patted her head. She was speechless. Thank you for your comfort. I'm even sadder after hearing it. He laughed delightedly. Her mouth twitched. I'll go up first. The dinner was great. Thank you. I'll pick you up tomorrow. We'll go to the ranch together. Okay. She got out of the car and waved at him. Be careful on the road. Xia Dong walked into the house. Xia Xiaobao was waiting at the entrance in cute Pikachu pajamas. He looked cool. Mom, tell me honestly. Who was the man who sent you back downstairs? Xia Dong bent down and pinched his cheek. Children shouldn't ask so much about adult matters. He turned his face away coolly. Humph, don't compare me to those little brats. I'm the man of our family. I have to be responsible for you. Our baby son is really amazing. Mommy is so touched. Xia Dong carried her son and rubbed her cheek against his. Xiao Bao pushed her away in disdain and puffed up his cheeks. Mom, don't think that everything will be fine just because you changed the topic. You haven't answered my question yet. Is that man chasing after you? How could that be? We're just ordinary friends. Xia Dong started to have a headache. Her child was too smart, and that was a problem. Other than Uncle Shen, I won't accept any other man as my father. Xiao Bao expressed his attitude seriously. Not even my biological father. Why? This was the first time Xia Dong heard her son mention his father. Because he's irresponsible. He's the one who abandoned the three of us. Xiao Bao's eyes were round, and his pink face was filled with anger. Awesome novel, Songshu 566. Chapter 68. Xia Dong was speechless as she rubbed her son's hair. Baby, you've misunderstood your dad. He didn't abandon us. No. I wouldn't misunderstand him. He's the one who abandoned us. He saw it clearly. He was hugging another woman and laughing so happily. He even had a new son. It was that annoying guy, Bailey E. This misunderstanding was huge. Xia Dong wanted to explain, but after thinking about it, she didn't say it. She didn't want the children to be involved in adult matters, and she didn't want her smart son to find out that Xiao Guai was sick. She'll just let Bailey Han take the blame for this one time. Xia Dong was wearing a blue and white riding suit with sheepskin boots. Her hair was tied up on top of her head, and she wore a cowboy hat. She looked valiant and very charming. Even Bailey Yun, who was used to seeing beautiful women, couldn't help but light up. Bailey Yun whistled frivolously. Xia Dong imitated him and looked him up and down. He was wearing a maroon riding suit and standing in front of the sports car. He looked handsome and unruly. She raised her eyebrows. Not bad. So you can be a man at times. Bailey Yun's face immediately darkened. I've always been a man. Xia Dong smiled but didn't say anything. She had an expression that said, I'm not going to explain. Bailey Yun's face darkened even more. Although they left early, it was already noon when they arrived at the ranch. The ranch was built on a wide lawn. In front of the White House, there was a large patch of grass. The car drove through the private driveway to the garage. Xia Dong happened to see Bailey Han and Su Yunxian standing side by side. They were talking about something with a smile on their faces. Xia Dong and Bailey Yun were the last to arrive. Xiao Tiansheng, Xiao Qifeng, and Su Jin and all brought female companions. Su Xingchen was Su Jin and's female companion. She didn't expect to meet so many people who didn't want to see her again. Xia Dong felt like running away. Well, our last pair of guests have arrived. Please take a rest and then go to the stud farm to pick your favorite horse. As the host, Xiao Tiansheng was very enthusiastic to call the servants to serve everyone. When Bailey Han saw Xia Dong and Bailey Yun walking over side by side, he frowned slightly. Su Yunxian noticed the slight change in his expression. Han, isn't that Miss Xia? When did Yun change his girlfriend again? Bailey Han's face was indifferent as he said lightly, they are just ordinary friends. Su Yunxian clenched her fists and changed the topic with an elegant smile. Han, shall we go and choose a horse? There were a lot of fine horses in the ranch. Xiao Tiansheng asked the steward of the ranch, Abel, to sneak out the horses. Bailey Han chose a Juju-bred horse. It was tall and had a very moist coat. Han, look, that horse is so beautiful. Su Yunxian pointed at a white horse in surprise. I want it. Abel hurriedly said, Miss Su, that horse's temper is quite fierce. You should choose a more gentle pony. The white horse proudly raised its neck and stayed away from the other horses. It seemed that it disdained to be with them. It was obviously unruly. Bailey Han also didn't agree with her choice of horse. But it's really beautiful. I want it. Su Yunxian pulled Bailey Han's arm. Her beautiful eyes were full of expectation. Han, my riding skills are very good. Let me try, okay? Bailey Han patted the back of her hand and softened his voice. Yunxian, Gigai, listen to me. If there is an accident, it's not a joke. Okay. Su Yunxian reluctantly looked away from the white horse. She looked around and finally chose the same jujube red horse as Bailey Han. The two horses were very close to each other. From time to time, they would rub their ears against each other. It was obvious that they were a loving couple. She chuckled. Han, look, they are just like us. They are also a couple. Bailey Han smiled and reached out to help her get on the horse. Hold the reins and watch your step. Su Yunxian agilely got on the horse and straightened her back. The white riding suit made her look more noble and elegant. She was like a noble goddess who couldn't be violated. She smiled. I haven't ridden for a long time. It feels so strange to suddenly sit on a horse. Let's go for a walk by the river. Bailey Han also got on the horse. He pulled the reins and walked side by side with her horse. Xia Dong was distressed at the moment. She was pregnant and couldn't ride a horse. She just wanted to pretend that she wasn't feeling well. She didn't expect Xiao Tianxing to be so enthusiastic and give her a horse before she could find an excuse. Our heroine, look at this horse. Her name is Empress. It's the most beautiful horse in the stud farm. What do you think? Do you like it? Xiao Tianxing led the white horse over. It was the horse that Su Yunxian liked. The white horse's fur was moist and its eyes were bright. Xia Dong couldn't help but reach out and touch its neck. She's very beautiful. It matches her name very well. I once had such a beautiful horse. Xiao Tianxing's eyes flashed with a strange light. He suddenly grinned. Xia Dong, Empress seems to like you very much. It had to be known that Empress was the most precious horse. She had a proud personality. It was the first time in history that she had tolerated a stranger like Xia Dong touching her. That's because I'm popular. Xia Dong's hands moved more gently. She combed Empress' hair and joked, You're called Empress and my horse is called Princess. Are you relatives? Xiao Tianxing was surprised to find that Empress took the initiative to rub her neck against Xia Dong's body. My God, am I seeing things? The proud Empress actually took the initiative to get close to someone else. Even I, the owner, have never received such treatment. Bai Lian raised his eyebrows in amusement. How can you compare yourself to Xia, who is loved by everyone, and loved by everyone? You're obviously not on the same level. Xiao Tianxing punched him in annoyance. Damn it, will you die if you don't use your poisonous tongue once? Bailey Yun nimbly dodged and smiled mischievously. Yes, I'll suffocate to death. Xiao Tianxing's mouth twitched. He was too lazy to pay attention to him. He said to Xia Dong, who was watching the show from the side, Since Empress likes you so much, you two can be a couple. Empress rubbed against Xia Dong, as if urging her to make a decision. Xia Dong awkwardly touched her neck. Actually, I wanted to tell you that I'm not feeling well and can't ride a horse. Bailey Yun jumped up nervously. You're not feeling well? What's wrong? Do you want to see a doctor? In order to cover up the fact that she was pregnant, Xia Dong decided to embarrass herself. She blushed and said in a small voice, It's not a big deal. Women have those few days every month. Bailey Yun's handsome face instantly turned red. Xiao Tianxing looked at his embarrassed expression, and his mouth twitched again. Finally, he said, That's really unfortunate. Yeah, ha, Xia Dong laughed dryly. Bailey Yun's face was still red. He coughed twice. Then, do you need that? No, I brought my own, I'm going to the washroom. You guys go ahead and have fun. Don't worry about me. Xia Dong was so embarrassed that she fled. After dawdling in the washroom for a long time, she patted her burning face and walked out. She bumped into Bailey Yun, who was pacing back and forth at the door. She pretended that nothing had happened and smiled calmly. Why are you here? Bailey Yun coughed awkwardly. Don't they say that women will feel pain when they do that? I was afraid that you would faint in the washroom. If you didn't come out, I would have rushed in. Xia Dong was speechless. It's not that bad. I'm just feeling a little uncomfortable. Let's go. Don't stand here. It feels so strange. Xia Dong wanted Bailey Yun to go play by himself, but he disagreed and insisted on accompanying her. She didn't want to dampen his spirits, so she held the Empress's hand and walked with him to the riverside to walk the horse. There was a wide lawn on the riverside, but there were also muddy areas that were difficult to walk on. They walked along the lawn to a quieter place. They tied the horse's reins to a tree and let the horse graze while they sat on the lawn to rest. Bailey Yun put his hands behind his head and leaned against the grass. His charming foxy eyes looked at Xia Dong. I've always wanted to ask you a question. What question? Xia Dong sat beside him and supported her head with one hand. Why did you come back? Xia Dong looked up at the white clouds in the sky and said lightly, my home is here. Bailey Yun propped his head up and stared at Xia Dong's face with a burning gaze. Is it because you can't bear to part with me? Xia Dong rolled her eyes. Bailey Yun, can you be more serious? I'm very serious. Can't you tell that I'm a very coquettish person deep down? Bailey Yun stroked his hair coquettishly and winked at her. Hurry up and admit it, Xia. Actually, you can't bear to part with me. Xia Dong held her forehead. Actually, your zodiac sign is a fox. He was always flirting and coquettish. Bailey Yun touched his chin and blinked his charming foxy eyes. Fox? That's a good name. This will be your exclusive nickname for me in the future, darling Xia. Who was going to save her? Bailey Yun rolled a few times on the grass and rolled in front of her. His handsome face suddenly leaned in front of her and the tip of his nose touched hers. His voice was low and bewitching. Xia, forget the past and start over with me, okay? Fox, you're too close. Xia Dong pushed his face away and smiled bitterly. I also want to forget the past and start over, but some things can't be changed. If Xiao Guai wasn't sick, she definitely wouldn't have had anything to do with Bailey's family. Bailey Yun's eyes darkened and he pursed his thin lips. You came back for Xiao Yi? Xia Dong's body stiffened. No. He stroked her hair. That's good. Xiao Yi is the darling of our family. My grandma will definitely not allow you to take her away. She pursed her lips. I understand. As long as Xiao Yi was living well, she shouldn't have any other thoughts. Bailey Yun sighed deeply and took her into his arms when she wasn't paying attention. Since that's the case, what are you still worried about? Is it that hard to start over? Xia Dong didn't know how to answer him, so she didn't answer. She leaned in his arms and listened to his strong heartbeat. A part of her heart softened and she said softly, Bailey Yun, thank you. He hugged her tightly. What are you thanking me for, She chuckled. Thank you for always being my friend and for jumping out to help me when I needed help. From an angle that she couldn't see, Bailey Yun smiled bitterly. So, after all that he had done, she still only treated him as a friend. But it couldn't be helped. Who asked him to fall in love with such an emotional single-celled animal? One day, he would let her discover his feelings for her. Big brother Yun, big sister Xiao Xia, so you're here. Everyone's looking for you. A light voice came from not far away. Su Xingqian was wearing a fiery red equestrian outfit today. It added a bit of heroic spirit to her sweet self. She straightened her back and rode slowly towards Xia Dong and the others. Come and see. Hongcha 866. Chapter 69. Bailey Yun let go of Xia Dong and pulled her up. He looked at Su Xingqian indifferently, as if he was unhappy with her arrival. When Xia Dong heard her call her Sister Xiao Xia, she knew that she already knew her identity and didn't want to have anything to do with her. She nodded politely. Su Xingchen realized that she wasn't welcome and playfully stuck out her tongue. Did I disturb you guys? Sorry. Xia Dong said indifferently, it's nothing. We were just about to go back. Su Xingchen smiled brightly. That's good. Sister Xiao Xia, is that white horse yours? It's so beautiful. I heard from Tianxing brother that the Empress is the best horse in the ranch. Let's have a competition to see, okay? Bailey Yun, who had been silent all this time, said impatiently, didn't you say that they were looking for us? Then why aren't we going to meet up with them? Oh, that's right. Then let's have a competition later. Su Xingchen wasn't angry at all and cheerfully said. Bailey Yun ignored her and untied the horse's reins, handing it to Xia Dong. The two of them led the horse back. When they returned to the ranch, the workers of the ranch had already prepared the items needed for the bonfire party. Xiao Tianxing, Xiao Qifeng, Su Jinan, and Bailey Han were racing horses. Su Yunxian held a small flag and acted as the referee. The workers who had finished their work gathered to cheer for them, and the sound of laughter resounded through the grassland. Seeing Xia Dong leading the Empress over, Su Yunxian's eyes flashed with jealousy. She was just a cheap woman, but her life was so tough. She didn't die even after losing old K as a chess piece. She was really too hateful. Empress, oh Empress, aren't you very arrogant? Why don't you just kick her to death? Her heart was raging with hatred, but the elegant smile on her face was appropriate. Her voice was soft. Ah Yun, where did you guys go? You missed a wonderful competition. Bailey Yun shrugged indifferently. We just walked around. Who's in the lead? Of course it's Brother Han. Sitting on horseback, Su Xingchen took out a pair of binoculars to watch the competition. He shouted excitedly, Big Brother Han's equestrian skills are the best. Su Yunxian smiled and shook her head. Xingchen, be careful. Don't fall off the horse. Xia Dong didn't have binoculars, so she couldn't see the competition. She felt a little bored. Su Yunxian suddenly said, Miss Xia, when the men's competition is over, how about we women's teams have a competition too? Sure. I just mentioned this matter to Sister Xiao Xia. Su Xingchen was the first to chime in. The female companions brought by Xiao Tianxing and Xiao Qifeng also had no objections. Everyone looked at Xia Dong and waited for her answer. Xia Dong narrowed her eyes. She knew that Su Yunxian wasn't as glamorous as she looked. She also knew that Su Yunxian hated her in her heart. She was so eager to invite her to compete because she wanted her to make a fool of herself. She chuckled. Sorry, I'm not feeling well. I can't participate. Su Xingchen pouted. What's the point of coming to the racecourse if you don't ride a horse? Yeah, it's rare for us to come here. It'll be more lively if we all play together, said the first female companion. The second female companion covered her mouth and laughed. Miss Xia's body is too precious. Or is it that she doesn't want to play with us? Su Yunxian smiled. Since it's not convenient for Miss Xia, let's not make things difficult for her. Miss Xia, why don't you be our judge? Xia Dong thought about it and finally agreed. Su Yunxian said again, it's too boring to compete on the grass. Why don't we have a steeplechase? Everyone was interested. What kind of steeplechase? Su Yunxian pointed in the direction of the forest. I've asked Tianxing. There's a small path in the forest that can accommodate 2 people at most. There are also some fallen trees blocking the path. This will increase the difficulty of the competition. Of course, if you think it's dangerous, you can reject this suggestion. Su Xingchen clapped and cheered. How interesting. I'll be the first to support it. Seeing that Su Xingchen had agreed, the 2 female companions were too embarrassed to reject. They gritted their teeth and braced themselves to agree. As the only male present, Bailey Yun frowned. I don't agree. I think it's too dangerous. Big brother Yun, I just went into the forest to take a look. Although the path is narrow, the trees are sparse. The difficulty isn't too high. As long as we're careful, there won't be any danger. Su Xingchen puffed up her cheeks and blinked her big eyes. Or do you think that us girls aren't as good as you guys, so you don't agree with us doing this? Su Yunxian's lips curled into a meaningful smile. Ah, Yun, Xingchen is right. You can't look down on us. We've all specially learned horsemanship. The 4 girls were all daughters of famous families. They had dabbled in all kinds of swordsmanship and horsemanship. Bailey Yun shrugged. All right, my good intentions are treated as ill intent. I won't care about you guys anymore. Do as you please. He glanced at Xia Dong in relief. Thankfully, Xia wasn't free and didn't have to mix with them. However, he didn't know that the moment Xia Dong agreed to be the referee, she had already been dragged into it. As a qualified referee, Xia Dong had to survey the track before the competition. Bailey Yun originally wanted to go with her, but Bailey Han and the other 3 men's competition had just ended. Xiao Tianxing said that he had missed the competition and had to be punished, so he was dragged away to drink as punishment. Xia, wait for me to come back. Before Bailey Yun was dragged away, he was still waving his arms and shouting. Su Xingchen snickered. Big sister Xiao Xia, big brother Yun is so good to you. He can't bear to be separated from you for even a moment. How about Miss Xia wait a little longer? Wait for second young master to come back, then you guys can go together. I didn't think that the fickle second young master would have such a cute side. Xia Dong was embarrassed by their words and blushed. Alright, stop talking nonsense. We're just normal friends. Oh, so you're just normal friends. Then I still have a chance, Miss Xia, you're blushing. Xia Dong's mouth twitched. Let's not delay the competition. I'll go survey the track first. You guys can gossip. Because it wasn't convenient for her to ride a horse, she spent a few minutes walking into the forest. According to their agreement, they traversed the entire forest. Sure enough, the path in the forest only allowed 2 horses to walk side by side. If they wanted to cut in, they could only pass through the trees. The trees weren't very dense, so technically speaking, it wasn't very difficult. There weren't many fallen trees blocking the path. After walking for about 10 minutes, they only encountered one. After walking for another 10 minutes, the path was blocked by another thick tree. This piece of wood seemed to have fallen for a long time. Some parts had already started to rot. There were many vines wrapped around it. The vines climbed up the tree next to it, forming a web-like barrier in the middle of the path. If they were to rush over on their horses and couldn't stop in time, they would definitely crash into the vines and be in danger. Xia Dong was very responsible and wanted to clear the vines away. She was glad that she had brought a dagger just in case. Using the dagger, she cut off the vines one by one and used her strength to pull them down from the tree next to her. The last vine was wrapped tightly around the tree trunk. Xia Dong gritted her teeth and pulled with all her strength, but the vine didn't budge at all. She looked up and saw that the lush leaves and branches of the vines were intertwined together, forming an oval shape. It looked like it was airtight. It was an arduous task to separate them. Harder. Xia Dong's feet rubbed a deep hole in the ground. Her hands were burning with pain. Finally, she felt the vines in her hands loosen. With a clatter, an oval-shaped object fell from the air. Wang. A swarm of densely packed objects flew out from the oval, flying toward Xia Dong. Xia Dong's expression changed. Hornets. Damn it, it was actually hornets. She actually poked a hornet's nest. Xia Dong ran forward with all her might, ignoring the branches and thorns. She sprained her ankle as she ran, but she didn't care. She endured the pain and continued to run forward. The loud buzzing sound behind her head was like a bell from hell, making her scalp numb. She ran fast, but the hornets were faster. When she was caught off guard, one or two of them had already bitten her exposed skin. She slapped a few of them away, but soon, more hornets surrounded her, and their sharp stingers fiercely stung her skin. Hiss, hiss. She was in so much pain that she almost cried. She broke a branch and waved it to hit the hornets. Her footsteps were also messed up and she deviated from the path. Suddenly, she slipped and her whole body rolled down the hill. This was a slope of about 50 degrees. It was covered with gravel and dead branches and leaves. Although it greatly cushioned the impact of rolling down, the trees were sparse. In her panic, Xiaodong couldn't grab any obstacles and rolled all the way down. Plop, finally, she rolled to the foot of the hill. She gritted her teeth and turned over, avoiding the oncoming tree stump, and crashed into a pile of grass. Her whole body was in pain. Xiaodong was in so much pain that she was about to faint. Especially the part of her face that had been stung by the hornets, it was already swollen and pressing on her visual nerves. Her vision had begun to blur, and even breathing was painful. Her child, would anything happen to him? Xiaodong turned sideways with difficulty to avoid pressing on her abdomen. She trembled and covered her abdomen with her hands. The pain, coupled with the toxins released by the hornets in her body, made her consciousness weaker and weaker. She wanted to call for help, but her voice was pitifully weak. Finally, she fainted weakly in the grass. At the ranch, Bailey Yun wanted to run away after being forced to drink a few glasses of wine, but Xiao Tianxing and Su Jinan watched him closely, as if he was an enemy. Xiao Qifeng also joked, "What's wrong? Can't bear to leave your Xia?" "Fine, I admit defeat, okay?" Xia promised to be the judge for their female team. She wants to go explore the track. I don't feel safe leaving her alone. Don't stop me. Bailey Han looked indifferent. Track? Where's the track? It's in the woods opposite. They're going to have some kind of obstacle course. Bailey Yun seemed to have grasped at a life-saving straw. He smiled fawningly. Brother, help me put in a good word and ask them to let me go. Bailey Han did not say anything. Xiao Tianxing took the initiative to let go of Bailey Yun's arm and said, "Seeing that you're in such a hurry, how can we make things difficult for you? Hurry up and go. Don't let your Xia wait for too long. Tianxing, you're the best at critical moments." Bailey Yun threw him a seductive look. Xiao Tianxing shuddered in disgust. Spare me. Why are there only a few of you? Where's Xiaodong? Bailey Yun finally got away. He looked around and did not see Xiaodong. Su Yunxian said, Miss Xia said that she didn't want to delay the race, so she went to explore the track first. Bailey Yun was so anxious that he almost jumped. Why didn't any of you follow her? What if something happened? Come and see, Hongcha 866. You're tuning into the Dreamy Love Stories YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.